Chapter 376. What kind of nonsense is this? Everyone in the hall was confused. Even Xiao Long Nu was looking at him blankly. It feels good to stand on a giant's shoulder. Song Qing-shu made another baffling remark before he brandished his sword and attacked the Vajra sect master. Song Qing-shu's movement technique was too fast, so the guardian deity decided to only protect his eyes and other vital parts. He forcefully circulated the indestructible diamond divine art and forcefully blocked his opponent's ghostly sword technique. You don't have to protect your lower body and chrysanthemum. I don't know how to stab those filthy places to avoid dirtying Miss Long's sword. Song Qing-shu strolled leisurely as he suddenly thrust his sword here and there, speaking with a relaxed expression. The guardian deity blushed, but he didn't dare to believe his words so easily. He gave up on defending those places and focused on waiting for his opponent to reveal an opening so that he could strike with a Herculean diamond finger. Zhao Min frowned as she watched from side. Why is the guardian deity only taking a beating and not fighting back? Daoist priest Bai Sang quickly explained that Shimin Shueishue's sword technique is too fast. The guardian deity can't keep up with his speed. If he tries to fight back, he'll easily expose his weak spots. It's better to use the indestructible diamond body to block his attacks and wait for an opportunity to strike. The sound of metal clashing rang in her ears. It was the sound of Shimin Shue's sword piercing the guardian metal sect body. Even though the guardian metal sect master did not move at all, Zhao Min still felt a shadow cast over her heart when she recalled the baffling words the guardian metal sect had said. Ouyang Feng and the other top experts thought that even if they were to face the world-famous Vajra, indestructible divine kung fu, they would probably be helpless, so they all stared at Song Qing-shu's sword momentum, wondering if he had any way to break this divine kung fu. Ouyang Feng finally noticed something. Even though Song Qing-shu's sword technique was fast, he was only stabbing the same dozen or so spots. If I were the one attacking, I would definitely attack the same spot every time to see if I could break through the opponent's defense. This Shimin Shueishue is clearly capable of doing that as well. Why is he splitting his attacks into different spots? Ouyang Feng was puzzled. However, the Guardian Kong sect master did not think so. Suddenly, his expression changed as he sensed that his protective divine technique was gradually becoming sluggish. He was horrified. What's going on? He had clearly just stabbed me a few times with his sword. When Song Qing-shu felt that it was about time, he suddenly sheathed his sword and swiftly struck out with his palm, imprinting a certain spot in the center of the dozen or so places he had stabbed earlier. The titanium sect master's face turned green as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The Mongolians were Song Qing-shu's greatest enemy. The guardian deity was highly skilled in martial arts and had joined the Mongolians. Song Qing-shu knew very well that the guardian deity's decades of cultivation was not simple. This time, the guardian deity was just too confident in Song Qing-shu's indestructible diamond body and allowed Song Qing-shu to attack freely, which was why he was able to defeat him so easily. The next time they met, it would not be so easy to defeat him. Song Qing-shu's eyes turned cold, and he stabbed with his sword. He planned to take the opportunity to take his life and cut off the Mongolians' wings. However, the guardian deity was indeed a grandmaster. He hastily used his great strength diamond finger to clamp the blade of the sword. Song Qing-shu let out a soft gasp of surprise and channeled his chi forward. Uffed. The tip of the sword pierced an inch into the guardian deity's chest, but it could not move any further because of the guardian deity's fingers. Decades of cultivation is indeed extraordinary. Song Qing-shu sighed in his heart, but he did not hesitate to let go of the sword hilt. He brushed the blade with his sleeve, and the blade began to spin rapidly. The guardian deity let out a pained cry and quickly retreated. Taoist priest Baisu quickly moved forward to prevent Song Qing-shu from taking the chance to kill him. When he saw the guardian deity's bloody fingers, Song Qing-shu sighed in his heart and lamented that it was a pity. The guardian deity's great strength diamond finger did indeed live up to its name. Even after Song Qing-shu stirred it, The guardian deity's fingers were not cut off. "We've lost the first round." Zhao Amin spoke up in time. They still had 4 more rounds to go if they lost this one round. If the guardian deity died, Ryong Mansion would suffer a great loss. "How did you manage to break my indestructible body?" The guardian deity was shocked and enraged. Once he snapped out of his daze, he immediately asked. This was also something that the other elites were very curious about. They looked at Song Qingshu and waited for his answer. "With the level of mathematics and physics in this world, you won't understand even if I tell you." Song Qingshu smiled. It was important to know that even reinforced concrete in his past life could be easily destroyed using the principles of structural mechanics. No matter how powerful the indestructible body was, it could not possibly be harder than reinforced concrete. The main principle was to use the principle of stress concentration. The phenomenon of stress increasing significantly in a local area of solid would mostly appear in sharp corners, holes, gaps, grooves, as well as places with rigid constraints in their vicinity. Stress concentration would cause brittle materials to fracture and cause fatigue cracks to form in objects. In the area of stress concentration, the maximum stress would be related to factors such as the object's geometry and loading method. The locally increased stress would rapidly decrease as the distance from the peak stress point increased. The greater the stress within an object, the smaller the external force needed to destroy the object. Therefore, as long as one could find these stress concentration points and destroy them, it would be relatively easy to destroy the entire object. In order to find these stress concentration points, one would generally need to build a mathematical model and use a computer to calculate their x, y, z spatial coordinates. Although Song Qingshu did not have a computer, he had the vital qi of this world. He wrapped his vital qi around the tip of his sword and used his vital qi to feel the force on the tip of his sword every time he struck the guardian deity's body. With his current cultivation base, he could clearly sense the difference as long as he hit the so-called stress concentration points. After finding the stress concentration points on the guardian deity's chest, he would continuously strike those spots with the tip of his sword. As time went by, the vital qi attached to the tip of the sword finally destroyed the internal structure of those spots. The guardian deity's chest, which was as tough as metal and stone, suddenly became extremely fragile. These stress concentration points were different from the Achilles heel in the martial arts world. When martial arts practitioners practiced martial arts, such as the Golden Bell Shield and Iron Mantle, they often had a spot on their body that they could not practice. This spot was the so-called Achilles heel. This spot was even weaker than an ordinary person's. If it was poked by a little finger, the worst-case scenario would be death. Therefore, martial arts practitioners were very secretive about their Achilles heel. Even their closest kin would not know about it. The reason why the indestructible body of Vajra had become one of the most famous divine techniques in the past 1,000 years was because the practitioner who successfully practiced it did not have Achilles heel. Their entire body was impervious to swords and spears, which was why their status far surpassed the likes of the Golden Bell Shield and Iron Mantle. In fact, the founder of the indestructible body of Vajra divine technique might not have known that no matter how amazing this divine technique was, it still had to abide by the basic laws of physics. The guardian deity had been practicing the indestructible body of Vajra divine technique for decades and had already reached perfection. He never thought that he had Achilles heel. Therefore, when Song Qingshu attacked those spots, he did not take it seriously at first. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Seeing that Song Qingshu did not want to elaborate, Ouyang Feng and the others looked as if it was a matter of course. If they were in his shoes, they would not easily tell others about a technique that could break the indestructible body of Vajra divine technique. The guardian deity's face alternated between green and red. It was not a big deal, even if he was defeated by someone else. After all, there were winners and losers in competitions. He knew his own limits and knew that he was not the best in the world. However, this time, the indestructible body of Vajra divine technique was directly broken by the opponent. It was a devastating blow to his confidence. He suddenly became worried about his personal gains and losses. He suspected that there was a fatal flaw in the indestructible body of Vajra divine technique. If Shimin Shueishua knew about it, then perhaps others also knew about it. He might not even dare to use this divine technique in future battles. Jinlun Fuang's face also turned cold. That Shimin Shueishua sword technique was faster than Xiao Long Nu's, and he did not have the weakness of Xiao Long Nu's shallow internal energy. Even the guardian deity's indestructible body of Vajra divine technique was directly broken by him. If he was stabbed by his sword, even if he did not die, he would be heavily injured. However, the arrow on the bowstring had to be released. No matter what, Jinlun Fuang was a grandmaster. He knew that if he did not retreat without a fight, then he would not be able to establish a foothold in Mongolia in the future. Fortunately, the guardian deity had just suffered a crushing defeat in his hands. As long as he persevered for a while longer, he would lose a bit more elegantly. In addition, everyone knew that he was injured, so his prestige would not be affected. After coming to the Central Plains, he had suffered several defeats. This had already caused the arrogant Jinlun Fuang to lose all his confidence. Now, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was after he returned, he would definitely cultivate the dragon elephant prajna technique. As long as he could cultivate it to the mastery realm, in the future, he would not have to be afraid of any experts with high cultivation. Mongolian state preceptor Jinlun Fuang, please enlighten me. Jinlun Fuang shouted. First, he wanted to encourage himself, and second, he did not want to give his opponent any time to rest. In his opinion, this Shimin Shueishua had just broken the guardian deity's indestructible body of Vajra divine technique. He was afraid that at this moment, his internal energy had already been greatly damaged. If he seized this opportunity, then he might have a chance to win. Ouyang Feng and the others clearly had the same thoughts as him. They couldn't help but sneer. You really have a good plan. Mr. Shimin has just finished his match, and now you're running out. Jinlun Fuang's face turned red. He stood there awkwardly, not knowing if he should advance or retreat. Instead, Zhao Min said it was this Mr. Shimin who chose to fight 3 matches in a row. No one forced him. What's wrong with starting the second match after the first match? Song Qingshu smiled faintly. Mr. Ouyang, don't worry about it. We can start the second match now. Jinlun Fuang was startled by his calm expression. He thought to himself, could it be that he has already recovered his lost internal energy? But how is that possible? The guardian deity is not a mediocre person. Right now, the opponent only has 60% of his internal energy left. After thinking about it, Jinlun Fuang felt that this Shimin Shueishua was deliberately mystifying him. He was trying to buy time to recover his internal energy. He hurriedly shouted, and the 5 wheels flew towards him. The weakness of a weapon like the wheel is too obvious. Even the divine weapon Taishu, made by the yellow Emperor Xianyuan, has a way to restrain it in the mysterious weapon. Not to mention these pieces of scrap metal like yours. As soon as Song Qingshu finished speaking, his entire body floated up like a falling leaf. When he landed, the tip of his foot just so happened to touch the middle of the 2 rapidly spinning wheels, and in an instant he stepped on both of them to the ground. He bent his upper body and dodged the incoming bronze wheel. He stretched out his sword and pointed it at the center of the wheel. There was a muffled buzzing sound. Song Qingshu had already controlled the bronze wheel to counterattack. It just so happened to collide with the silver wheel that was flying towards him from the other side. The 2 wheels immediately shattered. Seeing his 4 wheels shatter in the blink of an eye, Jinlun Fuang was shocked. He hurriedly retrieved his golden wheels and guarded them in front of him. He looked at his opponent vigilantly. Chapter 377. The hall was in an uproar. Just now, Song Qingshu seemed to have taken care of the Jin Gang master without much effort. This time, it was even more ridiculous. He destroyed 4 wheels of the Mongolian imperial advisor in an instant. Jinlun Fuang broke out in a cold sweat. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that his opponent hadn't finished adjusting his chi to catch him off guard. He didn't expect that he would be caught off guard. His heart turned cold. Could it be that this person's internal energy is so much higher than mine? Only Ouyang Feng, Taoist hunter damages, and Xiao Feng could vaguely see the problem. Song Qing had used skill to break the four wheels. He hadn't used much internal energy to fight Jinluan Fuwang head-on. Because of this, the martial arts of the grandmasters present could be seen. Jinluan Fuwang was obviously very strong, but he couldn't use it perfectly. When he met someone of the same level, it was easy for him to lose. When he met someone who wasn't as strong as him, it was hard for him to win quickly. In the end, the reason was that Jinluan Fuwang's techniques were too weak. He believed too much in the theory that one person could defeat 10 people. In the original work of the Condor Heroes, he was defeated many times in the Central Plains because of his lack of techniques and lack of adaptability. In the end, after he went into closed-door training, he still practiced the Dragon Elephant Prajna, a martial art that relied on brute force to crush his opponents. Even though he was able to hold his head high, it wasn't long before he died under Yang's exquisite palm of sorrow. Now that he saw Song Qing destroy 4 of his wheels with a wave of his hand, his first reaction was that Song Qing was using brute force to overcome brute force. He didn't think that Song Qing was actually using exquisite techniques to overcome 1,000 caddies with little effort. Xiao Feng noticed that Jinluan Fuwang was in a daze. He frowned and quietly said to Zhao Min, "Princess, if the imperial advisor continues to fight in his current state, I'm afraid he'll die on the spot." When she thought about how this Shimin Chue Shui wanted to kill the Jin Gang master, Zhao Min's heart went cold. She quickly raised her hand and said, "There's no need to fight the second round. We admit defeat." Jinluan Fuwang's face turned red, and he quickly said, "Princess." Zhao Min, however, shook her head and smiled. The Grand Tutor's status is noble. How can he be injured by an ordinary competition? She sighed softly in her heart. Looking at it now, I'm afraid I'm going to lose this competition. Although Xiao Dawang's martial arts skill is high, he may not necessarily be this Shimin Chueshua's match. Next, Bai Shang is going to fight Ouyang Feng, and Lu Zhanke is going to fight Qiu Qianren. Seeing Jinluan Fuwang's moved expression, Song Qingshu couldn't help but admire Zhao Min's ability to win people's hearts. Even though he wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of 1 or 2 Mongolian experts, now that the opponent had admitted defeat, it wouldn't be good for him to continue killing them. On the other side, Wanyan Liang looked at Song Qingshu's back in amazement. To think that there's such an expert in the world. If I can win him over, I'm willing to pay any price. The Jin and the Mongols had been at war for many years. Many of the Jin's top assassins had died at the hands of these two. So, he knew very well the martial arts of Jinluan Fuwang and the Jin Gang master. In his mind, these two were the same as Ouyang Feng and Qiu Qianren. Now that he saw them so easily defeated by Shimin Chue Shui, just how high was Shimin Chue Shui's martial arts? You fought 2 rounds in a row. You must have used up some of your internal energy. Please rest for a few hours. I can wait. Xiao Feng was not in a hurry to fight, but he spoke in a clear voice. Xiao Dawang is indeed a gentleman, Song Qingshu sighed. Since Xiao Dawang has said so, if I insist on not resting, wouldn't I be looking down on you? But I don't need a few hours, just the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn will do. Xiao Feng raised his hand and gestured for Shimin Chue to continue. Please help yourself. He then swept his gaze across the crowd. If anyone dares to make a move against Mr. Shimin Chue at this time, they will be going against me. When the crowd felt his gaze sweep over them, they felt a stabbing pain in their bodies. They couldn't help but be shocked. Xiao Feng's gaze was so intense. Could it be that his martial arts had already reached such a high level? Zhao Min frowned. She knew that Xiao Feng's words were actually meant for her to hear, and she immediately felt a little uncomfortable. In her view, this was like a confrontation between 2 armies. The art of war is deceitful, and one should use any means necessary in order to obtain the final victory. But since Xiao Feng had said so, she didn't want to publicly offend him. Xiao Feng's heroic spirit really reaches the clouds. Song Qingshu smiled faintly, sat cross-legged on the ground and began to regulate his breathing. He had just defeated Jin Gang and Jinlun Fuwang in a row. Although it seemed like a great momentum, it was actually very skillful and didn't consume much energy. Soon, he opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Feng. "Xiao Duan, please." Xiao Feng was like a ferocious tiger waiting for an opportunity to strike. He slowly walked into the arena and stared intently at Song Qingshu's eyes. He understood in his heart that with the ghostly movements that Song Qingshu had just displayed, if he were to attack first, he would definitely reveal an opening. Therefore, he made up his mind to first deal with a myriad of changes by remaining unchanging. Song Qingshu also knew what he was thinking. He laughed in a clear voice. "Since Xiao Duang isn't going to make a move, then I'll have to offend you." With a flash of sword light, Song Qingshu pierced towards his body from afar. Xiao Feng was already prepared for this. He changed his palm into a claw and used the dragon catcher hand to suck in a nearby square table. Then he attacked Song Qingshu's side. Song Qingshu didn't expect his opponent to deal with it so cleverly. With a flash of sword energy, the square table that was coming at him ferociously was cut into pieces, and then he dodged to the side without stopping. As expected, a majestic palm force attacked the place where Song Qingshu was standing just now, and the floor there was shattered. The owner of the hotel, who was not far away, felt his heart ache when he saw this. These damn people of the pugilistic world, smashing things at the drop of a hat. Who's going to pay for it later? The rest of the pugilistic world naturally didn't pay attention to this kind of thing, but they noticed that the two of them had already exchanged a few moves in that short period of time. Just now, Song Qingshu won 2 rounds in a row with ease, and the Mongolian and Khitan warriors were already holding their breaths. When they saw that Xiao Feng and his opponent were evenly matched, they couldn't help but feel invigorated, and they cheered loudly. This Xiao Feng's martial arts are so high. I wonder if he will be in danger. Looking at the situation in the arena, Icy Snow mumbled worriedly to herself. Xiao Long pursed her lips and smiled. "Senior martial sister, you're too worried. Brother-in-law's martial arts are so good. Even if he can't win, he definitely won't have a problem protecting himself. Don't listen to his nonsense. He's not your brother-in-law." Icy Snow felt her cheeks burning, and she was extremely shy. Not far away, Wanyan Liang noticed the 2 beautiful and refined women. Although Icy Snow had an incomparably graceful figure, she was still wearing a mask. On the other hand, Xiao Long was already a beauty that could cause the downfall of nations, and when she pursed her lips and smiled just now, it was like the melting of ice and snow, making Wanyan Liang feel as if his heart was struck by a heavy hammer. There's actually such a beautiful woman in the world. Compared to her, all the women I had in the past were all ordinary. If I can get this woman, I don't even want to be a prince anymore. The 2 women didn't notice Wanyan Liang's fiery gaze, and instead, they stared at the competition in the arena. Song Qingshu laughed loudly. Dragon catcher hand and 18 dragons subduing palms. King Zhao's use of it is simply superb. I wasn't paying attention just now, but since you're empty-handed, I naturally can't take advantage of your sharp sword. As soon as he finished speaking, Song Qingshu casually tossed the sword back into the scabbard in Xiao Longnu's hand. This precise control immediately amazed the audience. He didn't even look at the sword when he was several zhang away, yet he was able to accurately find the position with just a casual toss. It seems like his understanding of the sword has already reached the peak. Ouyang Feng's heart was filled with emotion. He couldn't help but think of the 2 sword masters he had met in his life. One was the divine ability, Wang Chongyang. When he used the standard Xuanjin sword technique in his hands, it was natural and irresistible. The other was Song Qingshu, whom he met on the Divine Dragon Island. His swordsmanship was exquisite and treacherous, especially that Li's sword technique, which made him flustered. Wang Chongyang was already dead, so there was no need to think about it anymore. I wonder if Song Qingshu's swordsmanship is better than Shimen Shueishue's? A thought flashed across Ouyang Feng's mind. If he knew that Shimen Shueishue was Song Qingshu, he would probably spit out a mouthful of old blood. Seeing that Song Qing-shu intended to compete with him empty-handed, Xiao Feng raised his palm. Brother, there's no need to do this. My martial arts are all on my bare palms. Having a weapon or not doesn't affect me much. Brother, there's no need to abandon your strong points. King Xiao is indeed open and above board. Song Qing-shu cupped his hands in greeting. I won't hide it from you. If it was a duel of life and death, I naturally wouldn't abandon my treasured sword. But this is only a competition. Meeting friends through martial arts, there's no need to use weapons. Good. Xiao Feng lifted the hem of his clothes and threw a green bamboo stick into the chitin warrior's hand. Since it's like this, let's use our palms for a while. Song Qing-shu was startled. He smiled bitterly and said, I've forgotten that Brother Xiao used to be the leader of the beggar sect. Naturally, you're proficient in the dog-beating stick technique. I was rash. Xiao Feng shook his head. Although I know the dog-beating stick technique, the 18 dragon subduing palms is more in line with my taste. Therefore, my attainments are above the dog-beating stick technique. Both of us have abandoned our weapons. It can be said that I have the advantage. Since it's like this, I'll use the 18 dragon subduing palms to experience Brother Zhao's 18 dragon subduing palms. Song Qing-shu let out a long laugh. His left hand formed a semicircle and his right palm slowly pushed out. It was the 18 dragon subduing palms. Arrogant dragon shows remorse. Song Qing-shu knew that Xiao Feng's martial arts were very strong. Moreover, he was very familiar with the 18 dragon subduing palms. It would be very difficult for the arrogant dragon shows remorse to injure him in the slightest. Therefore, before his palm energy was exhausted, he pushed out another arrogant dragon shows remorse. 3 consecutive palms were superimposed. It was an adaptation of Xiao Feng's consummate skill, the 3-layered waves of the subduing dragon. Seeing him use the 18 dragon subduing palms, Xiao Feng was very surprised. Seeing him use the 3-layered waves of the subduing dragon, he was even more shocked. He knew that this move was very powerful. If he wasn't careful, he would be severely injured. He hurriedly pulled himself together. Similarly, the arrogant dragon shows remorse, 1 palm superimposed on the other and pushed out. This 3-layered waves of the subduing dragon was created by him. His familiarity with it was even higher than Song Qing-shu's. Therefore, although it was launched later, in the end, the 2 of them attacked at the same time. 2 surging streams of air wrapped around the shattered floor and collided. Chapter 378. Even from afar, the faces of the people in the great hall twitched from the strong winds generated by the 2's inner strengths. When the 2 forces collided, even strong people like Ouyang Feng and Priest Hunter Damages were forced to take half a step back. Song Qing-shu and Xiao Feng both took a few steps back after their palms collided. Song Qing-shu's body swayed, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of Xiao Feng's mouth. The Mongolians were all shocked. They did not expect that Xiao Feng, who was invincible in terms of palm strength, would actually be at a disadvantage. Awesome. Xiao Feng didn't care at all. He looked at Song Qing-shu excitedly. I didn't expect you to not only know 18 dragon subduing palms, but also know 3-layered dragon waves like me. Song Qing-shu smiled awkwardly. Xiao Feng's 3-layered dragon waves was created by himself. Song Qing-shu, on the other hand, had read the original work and understood the theory behind Xiao Feng's 3-layered dragon waves, so he copied it. Xiao Feng's inner strength was obviously not as good as his, but their palms were basically equal. The key was that Xiao Feng used this move more skillfully than him. The reason why Song Qing-shu gave up his sword and used 18 dragon subduing palms to fight Xiao Feng was not because he was hot-headed, but because he had his own considerations. Not long after he entered this world, Song Qing-shu understood that the same martial art could be used differently by different people. The reason for this was not only the difference in power, but also the compatibility between the user's personality and the martial art. The power of the 18 dragon subduing palms used by a bold and simple person would definitely be much greater than that of a crafty person like Huang Rong. Song Qing-shu thought that his personality was not the same as people like Xiao Feng and Guijing, So he always knew that he couldn't use 18 dragons subduing palms to their level. But when Song Qingshu's realm became higher and higher, he realized that this might not be the case. All martial arts in the world had the same goal. Whether it was sword arts or palm arts, the theory should be the same. If he could achieve great success in his swordsmanship, why couldn't he achieve great success in his palm technique? He could reach the legendary swordless realm like Dugu Qiubai. When a user's personality was compatible with a martial art, they could bring out the martial art's power to the maximum. But the user might not know why there was such an effect. Just the words martial art compatibility could not be explained. Song Qingshu, who came from the future, had been baptized by a strict scientific system, so he subconsciously wanted to find the essence through phenomena. Song Qingshu believed that as long as he could figure out the essence, even if his personality and martial arts were not compatible, he could still maximize the power of his martial arts. This fight with Xiao Feng was the best opportunity. Song Qingshu basically knew all the martial arts that Xiao Feng knew. Song Qingshu wanted to see why Xiao Feng's might was so much stronger than his when he used the same type of martial arts. After the triple-layered waves of the subduing dragon, Song Qingshu felt that he had vaguely grasped something, but he couldn't quite grasp it. For a moment, he was stunned. When Ouyang Feng, who was at the side, saw this Shimin Chui Shui use the triple-layer dragon waves, how could he not understand his true identity? Back then, on Divine Dragon Island, the two of them had fought many times. He had experienced this move of Song Qingshu more than once. So it's him. After not seeing him for a while, I didn't expect his martial arts to have advanced so much. Ouyang Feng couldn't help but sigh. If Ku'er had his talent in martial arts, how could he have been harmed by others? On the other side, Zhao Min's complexion alternated between green and white. She had also seen Song Qingshu fight before. The 18 dragons subduing palms was the beggar clan's secret technique. In this world, only a few people had seen it, and those who could cultivate to this level could be counted on one's fingers. So it's Song Qingshu, that stinking brat. Thinking of the time when he brought her to Kaifeng to seek medical treatment and all the things that happened on the way, Zhao Min suddenly became somewhat absent-minded. Seeing that Song Qingshu was not only the strongest expert he had seen in his life, but also had such a high level of attainment in the 18 dragons subduing palms, Xiao Feng became excited. He let out a loud roar and pounced towards Song Qingshu. Brother Shimin, take my move leaping in the abyss. Song Qingshu was very familiar with the 18 dragons subduing palms, so he naturally knew that the left palm attack would be a feint, and the right palm would suddenly pierce through the left palm and attack the lower abdomen. Xiao Feng had said this in advance, so obviously he didn't have any intention of harming Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu promptly raised his hand to block, but who would have thought that when he came into contact with the opponent's powerful right palm, he would feel the opponent's internal energy suddenly disappear. Instead, the faint attack of the opponent's left palm suddenly generated a strong wind. Hastily raising his palm to meet the attack, Song Qingshu was immediately shaken to the point that his qi and blood churned. How rich was Xiao Feng's combat experience? He immediately covered his body and attacked. Although Song Qingshu had suffered a light injury, his mind was becoming more and more clear. Just a moment ago, Xiao Feng hadn't deliberately deceived Song Qingshu. He had indeed used the exact same move leaping in the abyss, but when he felt the strength of Song Qingshu's palm, his combat instinct made him change the strength of his palm, and in an instant he had injured Song Qingshu. Although there was blood seeping out of the corner of Song Qingshu's mouth, his face was full of smile. He had finally understood the profoundness of the 18 dragon subduing palms. In terms of the moves of the 18 dragon subduing palms, to put it nicely, it could be called simple and heavy, but to put it bluntly, it could be called mediocre. When a quick-witted person like Huang Rong or Song Qingshu learned the 18 dragon subduing palms, they would subconsciously change the combination of the moves in order to achieve the subtlety of the moves. Thus, they could only learn the form, but it was very difficult to grasp the essence. On the contrary, a simple person like Gui Jing could calmly follow the moves of the 18 dragon subduing palms, and thus bring out the essence of the 18 dragon subduing palms. This was because the 18 dragon subduing palms never relied on the moves to win. The most important thing was the circulation and strength of each move. Although there were only 18 moves, according to the difference in the strength of each move, the seemingly identical moves could have completely different effects. Thus, there were countless experts in the world, but those who could break through the 18 moves were few and far between. In the end, they could only break through the moves, but they didn't pay attention to the differences in the strength of each move. Before, Song Qingshu had always thought that the 18 dragon subduing palms was the world's strongest and most ferocious martial art, but this was a complete misunderstanding. When the 18 dragon subduing palms was cultivated to the highest level, it should be a combination of hardness and softness. The strength of the palms would fluctuate between strong and weak, swallowing and spitting. This was the only way to catch the enemy off guard. For example, Xiao Feng's leaping in the abyss move just now was obviously a feint with his left palm, while his right palm was the real one. However, according to the actual situation, Xiao Feng swapped the fake and the real, and in an instant he was able to injure an expert like Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu speculated that when Xiao Feng used that move, he didn't use all the strength in his palms. He swallowed and spat, and could switch between the fake and the real at any time. From this, it could be seen that in the world, there were probably only 2 people who could cultivate the 18 dragon subduing palms to this level. Xiao Feng's talent was extraordinary, and his innate bloodline of the god of war allowed him to take the initiative to cross this threshold. Gui Jing, with the help of the 9-yin manual, also reached the realm of combining hardness and softness. Hong Qigong's attainments in the 18 dragon subduing palms had also reached the point of perfection. However, compared to these 2 people, he was still a bit lacking. After Song Qingshu comprehended the profound principles, he felt that the 18 dragon subduing palms was very smooth and easy. Gradually, he turned the situation around, and when he exchanged blows with Xiao Feng, he unexpectedly gradually gained the upper hand. Chapter 379. However, Xiao Feng was worthy of having the war god's constitution. His fighting instincts allowed him to counterattack many times, putting Song Qingshu in a dangerous situation. After a palm strike, Song Qingshu took the opportunity to separate from Xiao Feng. He raised his hand and said, "Brother Xiao, if we continue to fight like this, I'm afraid we won't be able to decide the winner even after thousands of rounds. Why don't we stop here?" Xiao Feng laughed. "That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's the first time I've seen such a high level of martial arts. Brother Xiao, I also admire your martial arts very much." Song Qingshu pondered in his heart. Xiao Feng shouldn't be his opponent in a martial arts competition, but in a life and death battle, it was hard to say who would be the winner. Xiao Feng suddenly hesitated. "Brother Shimin, I have something to ask, but I don't know if I should ask." "Brother Xiao, there's no harm in asking," Song Qingshu said. 18 dragon subduing palms has always been a secret of the beggar clan. "Brother Shimin, could it be that you are a member of the beggar clan?" Xiao Feng asked. Song Qingshu was secretly amused. "Xiao Feng is probably worried about my reputation and is too embarrassed to ask me if I have secretly learned the beggar clan's martial arts. I'm not a member of the beggar clan. Learning the 18 dragon subduing palms was just a coincidence." Xiao Feng clearly knew that the attainment of the opponent in the 18 dragon subduing palms was not inferior to his. If he really secretly learned it, at most he would only be able to learn it. Therefore, he subconsciously believed that the origin of the opponent's martial arts was above board. While the 2 of them were flattering each other, Ouyang Feng couldn't hold back. He took a step forward and looked at Daoist Baisang with strong fighting intent. "In the 4th match, let me experience your profound underworld divine palm." Daoist Baisang said, "I heard that after the death of the legendary divine ability Wang Chongyang, among the 5 unique, you are the number 1. This poor Taoist will experience Western Poison's toad technique." Seeing that the battle between the 2 of them was about to break out, Zhao Min stopped them. There's no need to fight anymore. Let's go. Since Song Qing had already helped them win 2 matches and tied one, even if they won the next match, it would only be a tie. Besides, most likely Liu Zhangke would not beat Qiu Qianren's match in the 5th round. Why would he bring trouble upon himself? Princess, Daoist Baishang panicked. I've already made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more. Zhao Min had already stood up, and before leaving, she looked at Song Qing with a smile that was not a smile. Prince Song, when did you change your surname to Shiman? But you're a little like the Shiman Guan in the opera. There's no lack of beauties around you. I'm worried about sect leader Zhou. At this point, there was no need for Song Qing to hide. After taking off his mask, he looked at Zhao Min with a smile and said, Your Highness, are you jealous? Zhao Min's face turned red and she spat. Bah, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Xiao Feng's face revealed an astonished expression. So it's the #1 expert of the Manchurian Qing, Brother Song. This Xiao has also heard of your excellency's fame in Liao, and we have been friends in spirit for a long time. But there's one thing I don't understand. Brother Song clearly had the righteous deed of assassinating Kangxi. So why did you save the Jin King who had close ties with the Manchurian Qing? Song Qing smiled bitterly and said, Brother Xiao, please forgive me. I didn't mean to hide my identity just now. As for why I helped the Jin, it's a long story. Forgive me. Song Mao can't explain it to you for now. Xiao Feng frowned, then suddenly laughed and said, If you want to lie to me, you can easily make up a reason. Since you said so, you must have your own difficulties. It's not convenient for me to stay here for long, so I'll take my leave now. When we meet again in the future, we must have a good drink. Now that the Mongolians had retreated, the Jin had the advantage in numbers. Although he was not afraid to stay, he still had to think about his subordinates, and there were many things he wanted to discuss with the Mongolians. Very well, Brother Xiao. We'll meet again someday. Song Qing cupped his hands and said. Seeing the Mongolians and the Khitans disappear through the door, Ouyang Feng walked to Song Qing's side and patted him on the shoulder. How long has it been since we last met? Your martial arts have really improved by leaps and bounds. Song Qing had a bitter look on his face. Why did you use the toad stance's strength for that, Pat? Your martial arts are so good anyway, this little bit of strength can't hurt you. Ouyang Feng laughed and suddenly turned to look at Xiao Long Nu. He waved his hand and said, Daughter-in-law, come here and let me have a good look at you. Xiao Long Nu was startled at first, then a bright red spread from her neck. She said angrily, You crazy old man, who's your daughter-in-law? Ouyang Feng smiled carelessly and said, Yangwa calls me adoptive father, so tell me, are you not my daughter-in-law? Xiao Long Nu was stunned and immediately became bashful. Are you really Gua Er's adoptive father? When she heard someone mention Yanghua, she only felt a sweetness in her heart. Of course, why would I lie to you? Ouyang Feng said angrily. Xiao Long Nu bowed slightly and said, Greetings, adoptive father. She already thought of herself as Yanghua's wife, so when she spoke, she did not have the same scruples as other ladies. Ouyang Feng was also startled. Then he laughed and said, Good, I like this personality. Wanyan Liang, who was standing to the side, looked greedily at Xiao Long Nu's slender waist. He suddenly said, Mr. Ouyang, is Yanghua the son of Prince Kong? Wanyan Liang's father, Wanyan Zonggan, and Wanyan Honglai were brothers. Ouyang Gua and Wanyan Kong were cousins, so Yanghua had to call him uncle. Ouyang Feng's face turned cold. He had actually been deliberately avoiding this question. Ouyang Ku had died at the hands of Yang Kong, which was the greatest regret of his life. After he lost his mind, he could not remember anything. He subconsciously thought of Yanghua as his own son and gave him all his fatherly love. But when Ouyang Feng woke up, he thought about how similar Yanghua looked to the old Yang Kong and felt a thorn in his heart. But the feelings he had for Yanghua over the years could not be faked. So Ouyang Feng deliberately ignored this question. That's right, but Yang Kong is not the son of the king of Zhao. You don't need to call him brother. Ouyang Feng's face was extremely ugly. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Wang Liang smiled in satisfaction and did not continue to pressure Ouyangua. He turned to Song Qing-shu and said, I've only heard of young master's glorious achievements in the Jin Kingdom. I originally thought that it was just an exaggeration, but now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I finally believe that young master is a true god. Logically speaking, the Jin and Qin kingdoms had the same origin and were close allies. When they saw Song Qing-shu, the assassin who tried to assassinate Kangxi, they should have tried their best to capture him and present him to Kangxi. Who would have thought that Wang Liang would act as if nothing had happened and still talk to him cheerfully and wittily? Although Song Qing-shu was not afraid that Wang Liang would fall out with him, he was happy to have less trouble. Both sides had no enmity with each other, so he could not possibly slap Wang Liang when Wang Liang greeted him with a smile. Your Highness, you flatter me. Song Qing-shu returned to Icy Snow's side and replied emotionlessly, Since this matter is over, we should leave. We shall meet again. After he finished speaking, he did not wait for Wang Liang's response and held Icy Snow's little hand as he turned around and left. Actually, according to his original plan, he wanted to take this opportunity to build a relationship with Wang Liang for his future. However, when he noticed that Wang Liang was secretly looking at Icy Snow and Xiao Long knew, he felt disgusted and could not be bothered to interact with him. Little junior sister, do you plan to stay here or leave with us? When passing by Xiao Long knew, Song Qing-shu suddenly stopped and asked. Chapter 380. Xiao Long knew was stunned when she heard that he was no longer calling her Miss Long, but junior sister. She felt a little unnatural, but when she remembered that he was her senior sister's man, it was okay for him to call her junior sister. She immediately felt relieved and said, I'll go with you. Xiao Long knew was a quiet person. Wang Liang and his group were all men, so she was unwilling to stay here even with Ouyang Feng as her adoptive father. Suddenly realizing that she had a senior sister, Xiao Long knew had too many questions to ask Icy Snow. She wanted to have a good chat with her, so she naturally chose to go with her. As for Song Qing-shu, in her heart, he was just someone who was pleasing to the eye. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Wang Liang became anxious when he saw that the two beauties were about to leave, but he knew that he couldn't be too obvious. He casually said, If that's the case, we'll meet again. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to the Jin Kingdom to find me. I can't guarantee anything else, but in the Jin Kingdom, I can help you solve most problems. Xiao Long knew lightly grunted. Most of her mind was thinking about Yanghua, and the other half was curious about Icy Snow. She almost forgot what Wang Liang said. Thank you for your kindness. Song Qing-shu looked at Wang Liang in surprise. From Wang Liang's tone, he could tell that he was a powerful man in the Jin Kingdom. Could it be that the man Mrs. Tang was talking about was him? Xiao Long knew suddenly thought of something. She turned around and walked to Wang Liang's side. She handed the sword back to him and said, Thank you for your sword. I've used it, so I'm returning it to you now. Wang Liang was even more shocked when he saw Xiao Long's flawless face. He quickly said, Your sword is broken. I'll give it to you to protect yourself. Xiao Long lightly shook her head and said, No need. She placed the sword on the table and turned to leave, thinking to herself, Gu uses the gentleman's sword, so of course I'll use the lady's sword. It's a pity that the lady's sword was lost in Xiangyang. Although she was not familiar with the ways of the world, she subconsciously did not want to accept the sword of another man. Wang Liang held his breath. Looking at Xiao Long's misty figure, he suddenly felt a strong desire to conquer her. She has character. I like it. The woman I want, even the Empress, will be happy under my crotch, let alone you, a woman of the pugilistic world. After leaving the inn, Song Qing-shu hesitated for a long time before deciding to warn the two women. That Wang Liang's gaze towards you is filled with malice. You have to be careful of him in the future. Really? I think he's a good person. Xiao Long was startled for a moment and said without any ulterior motives. Now that there were no outsiders, Icy Snow took off her mask and said with a sweet smile, Junior sister, You're so beautiful that even I, as a woman, am attracted to you. It's not strange for that Gene Kingdom's prince to have some thoughts about you. Anyway, I think he's not bad. After seeing Icy Snow's appearance clearly, Xiaolong Nu also revealed a hint of amazement and said, "Eldest senior sister, you're also very beautiful." Of course not. Xiaolong Nu's serious expression immediately made Icy Snow feel embarrassed. Seeing that the two women completely ignored his warning, Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. Fine, I become a villain who gossips. It seems that a handsome gigolo like Wanyan Liang is really popular with women. When Song Qingshu complained incessantly, he completely forgot that he was also a gigolo through and through. Xiaolong Nu pulled Icy Snow and asked about her master's past excitedly, which was rare for her. Icy Snow also wanted to know what happened after her master left her. The two women immediately whispered to each other. Song Qingshu, who was abandoned by Icy Snow, followed behind the two women with a gloomy expression. However, being able to look at the graceful figures of the two women in snow-white clothes in front of him wasn't a difficult task. Song Qingshu suddenly thought of Li Macho's coquettish appearance and immediately sighed with emotion. The ancient tomb sect genes are really good. Wow, if I can have these 3 senior sisters and junior sisters at the same time and sleep together. Song Qingshu couldn't help but laugh as he fantasized with a perverted expression. His laughter startled the two women in front of him. When Xiaolong Nu turned around and saw Song Qingshu's expression, she couldn't help but ask doubtfully, "Senior sister, why do I feel that brother-in-law looks like the Gene Kingdom's prince that he described just now?" Poor Wanyan Liang. He gave her a sword and pretended to be cool, but in the end, he didn't even leave a name in Xiaolong Nu's heart. Icy Snow blushed and felt ashamed for Song Qingshu. She had no choice but to say, "Don't listen to his nonsense. He's not your brother-in-law." Not brother-in-law? Then what's the relationship between you two? Xiaolong Nu stared at Icy Snow with her limpid eyes and asked quietly. If it was someone else, they would definitely realize that there was an unusual relationship between the two of them and naturally wouldn't continue to pursue the matter. However, Xiaolong Nu didn't understand the ways of the world and just said whatever came to her mind. Icy Snow stood there awkwardly and didn't know how to answer. She couldn't possibly say that she and Song Qingshu were uncle and sister-in-law, right? When she recalled how intimate they were along the way, she couldn't afford to embarrass herself. Fortunately, Song Qingshu had already sobered up and hurriedly stepped forward to resolve her predicament. "Little junior sister, although I'm not considered your real brother-in-law now, one day I will definitely become your brother-in-law." Upon hearing his ambiguous words, Xiaolong Nu nodded, not fully understanding. In her understanding, the two of them should be a couple, but they weren't married yet, which was why they said that. In fact, this was completely Song Qingshu and Icy Snow's groundless fears. If the two of them told each other frankly, Xiaolong Nu, who didn't have any concept of etiquette, would feel closer to them instead. In comparison, due to their master-disciple relationship, they were also seen as an incestuous love in the eyes of the world. Just now in the inn, before they had the chance to drink any wine, they ran into a group of Mongolians and had a big fight. Now that the three of them were a little hungry, they quickly found a quiet tavern. Song Qingshu ordered a table of good dishes and sipped on some fine wine while looking at the two beautiful women opposite him. He felt very satisfied in his heart. The ancients say that beauty is a feast for the eyes. It's true. After dinner, the sky was already dark. Song Qingshu considered that this place was not too far from the sphere of influence of the Golden Snake Camp, so he dispelled the idea of rushing through the night. He decided to first rest for the night, conserve his energy, and then set off tomorrow morning. Although Song Qingshu repeatedly hinted at Icy Snow, how could she put down her pride to stay in the same room with Xiaolong Nu in front of Song Qingshu? Using the excuse that she wanted to have some intimate words with Xiaolong Nu, she booked the same room with Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu had to stay in the other room alone. It wasn't easy for Song Qingshu to obtain Icy Snow's body. After tasting it, He felt like his heart was being scratched by a cat. When Xiao Longnu wasn't paying attention, he pulled icy snow and whispered, "When she falls asleep, can you sneak out to look for me?" Chapter 381. Icy Snow blushed and shook her head. Junior sister is highly skilled in martial arts, so how can I hide it from her? Just bear with it for 2 days. After she leaves, I'll let you do whatever you want. When Song Qing-shu heard this, he felt even more unable to restrain himself. He thought that in 2 days, they would enter Xia Qingqing's territory. At that time, the two women would be wary of each other, and the three monks wouldn't have any water to drink, so they wouldn't be able to take advantage of each other. Icy Snow seized the opportunity while his thoughts were running wild. She smiled sweetly and escaped from his clutches in a flash. Worried that he would catch up, she hurriedly ran over and hugged Xiao Longnu's arm, chatting and laughing as they entered her room. When Song Qing-shu saw Icy Snow making a face at him when she closed the door, he was furious. After returning to his room, Song Qing-shu sat cross-legged on the bed and circulated his vital energy a few times. When he thought of the two outstanding beauties next door, he felt like a cat was scratching his heart. He couldn't sit still anymore and got down from the bed, wanted to go over. But when his hand touched the door, he realized that Icy Snow was determined to refuse. So he put his hand down dejectedly and paced back and forth in the room anxiously. On the other side of the room, Icy Snow was absent-mindedly chatting with Xiao Longnu. Xiao Longnu had a cold temperament to begin with. After Icy Snow's lack of words, the two of them quickly fell into an awkward silence, so the two girls decided to sleep early. Icy Snow originally invited Xiao Longnu to sleep on the same bed as her, so that they could talk for a while more. However, Xiao Longnu shook her head slightly and said in a cold voice, "Senior sister, I've always liked to sleep alone since I was young." As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Longnu inserted a white silk belt into the walls on both sides with her inner strength. Her body was as light as a swallow as she leisurely lay down. Icy Snow's eyes lit up and she praised sincerely, "Junior sister, your mind is pure and flawless. That's why you can walk on such a thin rope as though it's flat ground." Xiao Longnu responded with a faint smile and slowly closed her eyes. After Icy Snow crawled under the blanket, her gaze inadvertently drifted to the nearby wall. Her heart was completely tied to Song Qing-shu. On one hand, he wanted to be like Xiao Longnu and fall asleep as soon as possible. However, his mind was in a mess, and he couldn't fall asleep at all. On the other hand, she had the idea of sneaking over to look for Song Qing-shu, but she quickly rejected the idea. Firstly, she was worried that she would alert Xiao Longnu. Secondly, it would be too bold for a girl to go over to his place in the middle of the night. Just as Icy Snow was worrying about her gains and losses, she suddenly heard a soft sound coming from the window. When she turned around in shock, she saw a shadow jumping in from the window. Xiao Longnu was also startled. Just as she was about to stand up and make a move, the black shadow moved as fast as lightning. In an instant, it had appeared beside her and sealed all of her major acupuncture points. Xiao Longnu's vision darkened, and her whole body softly fell from the rope. Just as her pretty face was about to come into intimate contact with the hard ground, the black shadow seemed to have expected this. It hugged her and gently placed her on the ground. At this moment, Icy Snow reacted. She pulled out the golden bell lock belt and was about to strike the black shadow when the black shadow suddenly raised his head and said, "It's me." With the help of the moonlight, who else could it be other than Song Qing-shu? Icy Snow was instantly embarrassed and angry. "Why did you come over in the middle of the night? Since you weren't willing to come out, I came over." Song Qing-shu smiled proudly. Icy Snow blushed. She glanced at Xiao Longnu on the ground and said bashfully, "But Junior sister is still here." Song Qing-shu then sealed a few more acupuncture points on Xiao Longnu's body. "Don't worry, I sealed all of her major acupuncture points. She won't know what happened." Icy Snow's face turned even redder. She said softly, "But how am I going to explain to her tomorrow? She's inexperienced. You can just find an excuse to fool her. Song Qing-shu immediately burrowed under the blanket. He took a deep breath and revealed an intoxicated expression. How fragrant! Ever since he took her body, Icy Snow felt that she had become more sensitive. Now that he was so close to her and she smelled his scent, her body suddenly softened. Sensing that Song Qing-shu was hurriedly undoing her belt, Icy Snow's heart swayed. She bit her lips and said in a sweet voice, "Uncle, I seem to have been led astray by you." Looking at the beautiful body that was like suet jade, how could Song Qing-shu hold back? He hurriedly leaned over. Unexpectedly, Icy Snow suddenly tilted her head and looked at Xiao Long Nu on the ground not far away. She said worriedly, "You put her on the ground and restrained her power. If she sleeps like this for a night, I'm afraid that a cold will enter her body." The ancient tomb sect's internal energy is extremely feminine. Once it's infected with cold poison, it'll be very difficult to get rid of it. Song Qing-shu put on an innocent face. "Then what should we do? The room is only so big. We can't possibly let her sleep on the bed, can we? Why don't we leave the bed for him and go next door?" Icy Snow said with her head lowered. "Why do we have to go through so much trouble?" Song Qing-shu didn't want to go to another place at this time. He reached out and used the dragon-capturing art to suck Xiao Long Nu over. After carrying Xiao Long Nu and putting her on the bed, Song Qing-shu couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he looked at her beautiful face while she was sleeping. In order to cover it up, he laughed and said, "Little junior sister's body is so light." Icy Snow rolled her eyes at him. "You obviously want to say that she's beautiful, right? Tell me honestly, did you have any bad intentions by putting her next to you?" "In all honesty, I just don't want her cold poison to enter her body. As for any bad intentions, even if I have any, it's just a harmless way to liven things up." Song Qing-shu leaned over and whispered a few words into Icy Snow's ear. "Uncle, you're so perverted. Oh my God, why did I think that you're a gentleman in the past?" Icy Snow looked at him with a reproachful expression, but she didn't say anything to object. She thought that her little junior sister didn't know any of this anyway, so it made her feel a little strange. Seeing that Icy Snow wasn't really angry, Song Qing-shu didn't hold back anymore and pressed his body on her. Both of them had been fighting for a long time, so they were soon entangled together like glue. Icy Snow pressed down on Song Qing-shu's hand. Her eyes were misty like water. You can only look at her, but you're not allowed to touch her. Song Qing-shu retracted his hand awkwardly. It was an accident. An accident. On the side, Xiao Long Nu's snow-white skin was dyed with a layer of charming redness. It turned out that she had learned the acupoint unsealing method from the Nine Sutra in the ancient tomb. Although she was instantly restrained by Song Qing-shu, she still tried to unseal the acupoints with her weak vital energy. When Song Qing-shu put her on the bed, she was already a little conscious. At first, she was a little worried about the shadow, but when she found out that it was Song Qing-shu and her big senior sister beside him, Xiao Long Nu quickly relaxed. She had a very mild temperament. Although Song Qing-shu sealed all the major acupoints on her body, she slowly unsealed them and slowly recovered. But after she woke up, she became even more embarrassed. Although she didn't open her eyes, she could feel that her brother-in-law and big senior sister seemed to be doing something embarrassing. Chapter 382. However, the reality was cruel. Xiao Long Nu could clearly sense that the two people beside her had changed their positions, but they didn't seem to have any intention of ending it. Xiao Long Nu really did not want to believe that this was the voice of the cold fur senior sister from earlier in the day, when she heard the seductive panting sound coming from her ears. Immersed in this quiet atmosphere, Xiao Long Nu suddenly felt that her body had become strange. The ancient tomb sect's internal energy had always emphasized on purity of mind and few desires, so it was rare for one's body to feel hot and dry. Xiao Long Nu thought that she had gone berserk. Alarmed, she hurriedly circulated her essential qi to regulate her breathing, but it didn't work at all. The throbbing of her soul couldn't be suppressed by acquired martial arts. As she didn't want the two people beside her to know that she had woken up, Xiao Long Nu gritted her teeth and tried her best to restrain her body from trembling. As a result, her body became more sensitive and soon she began to feel aroused. Her skin was shrouded in a layer of rouge red. With Song Qingshu's current level of skill, he had already noticed when Xiao Long Nu had opened the acupoints in her body. Just when he was so embarrassed that he didn't know how to end the situation, he realized that Xiao Long Nu hadn't opened her eyes. Instead, she was lying there motionlessly. With a thought, Song Qingshu understood Xiao Long Nu's thoughts. He knew that she was concerned about her senior sister's reputation, which was why she pretended to be restrained and unconscious. After understanding all of this, some evil thoughts surfaced in Song Qingshu's mind, and he became even more excited. Even though Icy Snow was a little baffled by the valiant state of the man on top of her, she thought that he was extremely infatuated with her body. Other than feeling bashful, she also felt a tinge of sweetness in her heart. Her body became softer and softer, gently embracing everything of the man on top of her. She transformed into a docile horse, allowing the knight on top of her to gallop freely. Looking at Icy Snow's misty eyes, Song Qingshu subconsciously held her soft hands. As expected, they were incomparably smooth. After a long while, Song Qingshu was stunned to find that Icy Snow's hands were wrapped around his waist. Whose hands were I holding? Shifting his gaze to Xiao Long Nu, he saw that her snow-white cheeks were covered in an enigmatic blush and her eyelashes were trembling. Song Qingshu swallowed his saliva and suddenly couldn't bear to let go. His fingers gradually moved up, and he clearly felt Xiao Long Nu's body shuddering. Her delicate skin suddenly quivered. In the end, Song Qingshu didn't dare to be too presumptuous. He understood that perhaps this was the limit of Xiao Long Nu's tolerance. If he continued to push his luck, he couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't turn hostile and leave. If that happened, everyone would be in an awkward situation. If Icy Snow knew that her junior sister had been awake all this while, perhaps she would hate him to death. Holding Xiao Long Nu's soft, petite hands, Song Qingshu suddenly felt that Icy Snow and Xiao Long Nu's appearances were somewhat mismatched. The woman beneath him was Icy Snow for a moment, and then Xiao Long Nu in the next moment. No man in the world could withstand the stimulation of sharing the same bed with two outstanding beauties. Not long after, Song Qingshu's body trembled as he hugged Icy Snow and panted heavily. At that instant, Song Qingshu keenly sensed that Xiao Long Nu also shuddered, and her breathing became chaotic. However, Song Qingshu was drowsy and couldn't care less. He hugged Icy Snow and planned to fall asleep. Icy Snow lifted the messy hair on her face and pushed Song Qingshu lazily. "You're not allowed to sleep here. I'm so sleepy. I don't want to move anymore," Song Qingshu said shamelessly. Icy Snow turned her head to look at Xiao Long Nu and snappily said, "Junior sister is still here, so how can I let her share the same bed with you without knowing?" Xiao Long Nu was a little annoyed, but after hearing Icy Snow's words, she felt relieved. Senior sister still cares about me. She's worried that I'll be taken advantage of. Song Qingshu suddenly recalled that Xiao Long Nu was awake at the moment and felt guilty. He looked at Icy Snow guiltily and said, "I'll head over first, then." Icy Snow's body was so soft that she couldn't even move a finger. She urged softly, "Go, go." Song Qingshu quickly grabbed the clothes on the bed and ran to the room next door as though he was escaping. He didn't dare to look at the two women again. Xiao Long Nu was hesitating if she should find a reason to wake up. Icy Snow suddenly snorted and turned around to hug her in her arms. She murmured, "Junior sister's body is so cold. It's so comfortable." Due to the lingering sensation after the lust, Icy Snow's body was burning hot. Xiao Long Nu was born with a cold body. Being hugged by Icy Snow, she immediately felt warm and comfortable. Moreover, she had just used her vital energy to clear the acupoints all over her body and was in an extremely tense state after waking up. Now that she was relaxed, Xiao Long Nu felt drowsy. She let Icy Snow hug her and unknowingly fell asleep. The next morning, When Xiaolong Nu woke up, Icy Snow was freshening up. Noticing the movement on the bed, Icy Snow turned around and said with an unnatural expression, "Junior sister, you're awake?" Looking at Icy Snow's radiant face after receiving ample nourishment, Xiaolong Nu suddenly had a mischievous thought when she recalled the suffering she suffered last night. She purposely asked, "Senior sister, what's with the black shadow last night?" Icy Snow's expression changed. She explained awkwardly, "The Mongolians were unwilling to suffer a setback, so they secretly sent experts to kidnap us." Fortunately, Song came in time and defeated the enemy. "Is that so?" Xiaolong Nu said with a smile that didn't look like a smile. However, she was cursing in her heart. "He was the one who stole from me and took advantage of me. Now, he has become my savior." Although Xiaolong Nu was a little annoyed that Song Qingshu was caressing her hand while bullying her senior sister last night, she thought that he must have done it unintentionally. Since she chose to pretend to be asleep last night, she wouldn't expose everything today. She could only feign ignorance and nod. "I really have to thank brother-in-law then." "He's not your brother-in-law," Icy Snow said hurriedly. "Last night, you clearly..." Recalling the embarrassing things that happened last night, Xiaolong Nu blushed and stopped talking. Icy Snow was startled. Did she see through something? Fortunately, there was a knock on the door at this moment. Song Qingshu's lazy voice sounded, "Two beauties, it's time for breakfast." "Wait a minute. We still need to freshen up for a while," Icy Snow said snappily. Upon hearing Song Qingshu's voice, a trace of unnaturalness flashed across Xiaolong Nu's expression. She looked like she was about to flare up, but couldn't do so. Seeing her frown, Icy Snow stared blankly. Even a frown is so beautiful. I can't help but feel sorry for her. No wonder a gentleman like Uncle couldn't help but carry her to bed last night. At the thought of that, Icy Snow's face heated up, feeling vexed. Why did I agree to his ridiculous request last night? Chapter 383. Xiaolong Nu struggled in her heart for a long time. In the end, she decided to pretend that she didn't know anything about what happened last night. She secretly made up her mind to never travel with the two of them again. Otherwise, if they barged in every night, would she have to suffer every night? The anger in her heart naturally showed on her face. She asked with concern, "Junior sister, you don't look so good. Are you feeling unwell?" "It's nothing," Xiaolong Nu said faintly. She didn't want to continue the conversation and began to wash up. She only needed to wash her cheeks with water. Therefore, even though she woke up later than Icy Snow, she finished washing up earlier. Hibiscus out of clear water is naturally sculpted. "Junior sister, you really have the spiritual aura of heaven and earth in you." Icy Snow was stunned and filled with emotions. Xiaolong Nu smiled faintly. "Eldest senior sister, I can feel the feeling of ice and snow from you. You have a lot of spiritual aura too." Icy Snow understood that her junior sister didn't know what compliments were, so she must be speaking from the bottom of her heart. She couldn't help but feel delighted. "Junior sister, let's go out quickly." "Song, he's probably waiting anxiously." Noticing Icy Snow's worried expression, Xiaolong Nu was also worried. Wasn't she also thinking about Yanghua? With that thought, Xiaolong Nu's anger from last night vanished in a thin air. When the two ladies went downstairs, the inn fell into a strange silence. The guests looked at the two ladies in snow-white robes who looked like fairies descending to the mortal world and thought in unison, "There's actually such stunning beauties in this world?" Song Qingshu's eyes also flashed with a hint of amazement. He couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his heart. "I actually have one of them." When the two ladies came to his side, the surrounding men shot murderous gazes at him. Song Qingshu was even more pleased and asked politely, "Did you rest well last night?" As soon as he said that, Song Qingshu cursed inwardly. The two ladies knew exactly what he did last night. As expected, after hearing his words, the two ladies blushed at the same time and recalled some embarrassing scenes from last night. Icy Snow hid her embarrassment by drinking water. Xiaolong Nu cleared her throat and said, "Senior sister, I'm afraid I can't travel with you anymore. Song Qing-shu was startled when he saw that Xiao Longnu had the intention to leave. He knew that she was probably angry because of what had happened last night. He wanted to urge her to stay, but with their relationship, he didn't know what to say. Fortunately, Icy Snow quickly persuaded, "Junior sister, why do you want to leave all of a sudden? Didn't we agree to travel the world together, and you will bring me to the ancient tomb?" Xiao Longnu had a strange look on her face. She muttered to herself, "Although we agreed on this before, do I have to endure last night's torture every night if I continue to follow you?" Xiao Long Nu, and Xiao Long Nu felt that she had learned bad things. She never lied in the past, but this time she lied to them and said that she was going to find Guaer. Guaer is obviously with Miss Guanao. He probably won't think of me. Thinking of this, Xiao Long Nu's expression suddenly became gloomy and she sighed softly. Seeing her frown and sigh, Song Qing-shu suddenly felt his heartstrings being tugged. He couldn't help but be secretly alarmed. He suddenly came to his senses and carefully looked at her a few times. He thought to himself, Xiao Longnu has never practiced any seduction skills, so why does she have such a fatal attraction to men? Even my current calm state of mind can be affected by her? Song Qing-shu wasn't Duanyu. He could distinguish between a man's natural pursuit of beauty and love. He was very clear that his affection for Xiao Longnu was limited to her beauty that could bring calamity to the country and the people, as well as a fantasy and obsession he had with her in his previous life. There was nothing soul-stirring between him and Xiao Longnu, so there naturally wasn't any so-called love. Song Qing-shu never believed in love at first sight. In his opinion, love at first sight was just a physiological reaction, a possessive desire for the beauty of the opposite sex. Noticing that Song Qing-shu had been staring at her, Xiao Longnu frowned and suddenly felt uncomfortable sitting there. Icy Snow also couldn't stand it anymore, so she coughed and took the opportunity to remind Song Qing-shu. Song Qing-shu was stunned, but he immediately recovered and smiled. Since Junior Sister has something to do, it's not convenient for us to keep her. Let's drink a cup of wine to wish Junior Sister's wish to come true. Although Xiao Longnu didn't know much about worldly affairs, her sixth sense as a woman told her that this brother-in-law before her seemed to have bad intentions toward her. She thought that he would try to make her stay, but she didn't expect him to agree so readily. Xiao Longnu's mind was filled with her and Yanghua. When she heard Song Qing-shu wishing her wish to come true, she felt a trace of sweetness in her heart, and her gaze towards Song Qing-shu became much gentler. It seems that I've misunderstood brother-in-law. It was just an unintentional mistake last night. Sigh, he offended so many martial arts masters in order to help me. I shouldn't have doubted him. When Xiao Longnu thought of this, the little bit of unhappiness that she had immediately vanished. A smile actually appeared on her usually cold face. After bidding farewell to Xiao Longnu, Icy Snow and Song Qing-shu set off for the Golden Snake Camp Sphere of Influence. Looking at Icy Snow's hesitant expression, Song Qing-shu asked in amusement, "You've been like this since Junior Sister left just now. What's wrong?" Icy Snow rolled her eyes at him. "Miss Long is my junior sister. Why are you taking advantage of her? Aren't you ashamed?" Song Qing-shu held her slender waist with one hand and said with a smile, "What's the relationship between us? We'll be a family sooner or later. Isn't your junior sister my junior sister?" Icy Snow blushed and spat. "I feel that there's something fishy about Junior Sister's sudden departure." "Ah, do you think she's suspicious of what happened last night?" Song Qing-shu held back his laughter and said solemnly, "She's not suspicious, but she clearly knows what happened last night." Icy Snow was stunned. "Ah." Song Qing-shu whispered to her ear and told Xiao Longnu that she had opened her acupoint early on. In order to not embarrass her senior sister, she had been lying on the side with her eyes closed and pretending to be unconscious. "Did you already know?" Icy Snow gritted her teeth and glared at him furiously. "You think she doesn't know? She also thinks that I don't know. She knows. Song Qingshu looked smug and casually said the advertising slogan that Baidu used to fight against Google in his previous life. With my martial arts, I naturally noticed it long ago. But since Junior's sister is so cooperative, I can't expose everything and embarrass both of you at the same time. Ah, it's all your fault, you bastard. How do you want me to face her in the future? Icy Snow was instantly driven mad. Her face alternated between red and pale. Chapter 384. Icy Snow chased all the way and finally caught Song Qingshu. She snorted in dissatisfaction. You deliberately bullied me just because your qigong is better than mine. With my qigong, how can I let you catch me if I really wanted to bully you? Song Qingshu hugged Icy Snow's soft waist and quietly looked at her snow-white and flawless face. Icy Snow only felt a rush of heat and couldn't help but blush. After this period of chasing, her anger had actually dissipated by half. She snorted, "Don't tease me like this again in the future. It's really embarrassing. I was also bewitched last night." Song Qingshu laughed and was about to brush it off perfunctorily. Icy Snow snorted coldly. You must have seen Junior's sister's outstanding beauty and couldn't help but have evil thoughts. Song Qingshu cried out in injustice. I didn't do anything to her. He naturally didn't dare to drag out everything that happened last night. If Icy Snow knew that he was holding Xiao Longnu's hand tightly when he was galloping on her body last night, she probably wouldn't forgive him so easily. Shoo! Song Qingshu's expression suddenly changed, and he pricked up his ears to listen. What's wrong? Icy Snow thought that there was an enemy nearby. Her expression turned solemn. She secretly pinched the golden bell belt on her waist and vigilantly observed the surroundings. But after looking around, she didn't find anything. Icy Snow thought that Song Qingshu was deliberately teasing her. She was about to get angry when Song Qingshu suddenly said, "There are sounds of fighting in the dense forest 2 miles away. There are people here?" Icy Snow was startled. Just now, when the two were chasing and playing, Song Qingshu chose the most remote places to hide. The two were already far away from the official road at this time. Other than woodcutters and hunters, there were probably very few people who set foot in these places. Song Qingshu wrapped his arm around Icy Snow's waist and rushed over in a flash. 2 miles away, Meow and Foam looked at the black-clothed man not far away in horror and said in despair, "I claim to be invincible in the world, but I can't even take 10 moves from you. I'm really a frog at the bottom of a well." The black-clothed man said indifferently, "The Meow family's swordsmanship is only a third-rate swordsmanship in the pugilistic world. Your Meow family hasn't produced any experts for generations. I didn't expect that in your generation you could actually create such a big name with such an ordinary swordsmanship. Hero Meow can also be called amazing." Amazing? Meow Renfeng laughed self-deprecatingly. "Judging by your voice and build, you are not even 30 years old. How can I, Meow Renfeng, dare to call myself stunning in front of you? Everyone's fate is different. We can't force it." The black-robed man stood with his hands clasped behind his back and suddenly said with some impatience, "Hero Meow, have you thought it through? As long as you hand over the roaming king's treasure map, I will let you and your daughter go. Otherwise," the black-robed man glanced at Meow Rulin, who had fallen at his feet. The threat in his words was obvious. Meow Renfeng's hair and beard stood on end. "With your martial arts, you must be someone with a great background in the martial world. How dare you bully a little girl like this?" The black-clothed man frowned. "I don't want to do this either, but I urgently need this treasure now, so I have to resort to this." Meow Renfeng closed her eyes and coldly said, "My Meow family has shouldered the heavy responsibility of guarding this treasure for generations. How could we let the treasure fall into the hands of a despicable person like you just because we are afraid of death?" After he finished speaking, he turned to look at Meow Rulin and said with a sad face, "Lana, it's all Daddy's fault. Do you blame Daddy?" Although Meow Rulin was trembling with fear, she still firmly shook her head. "Lana is not afraid. Father, you must not tell this scoundrel about the treasure." The man in black hesitated for a moment before saying in a soft voice, Miao Daxia. When the roaming king left this treasure trove behind, it was only because he wanted to use it as military expenditure for driving away the Tatars in the future. Now that foreign tribes are wreaking havoc in the Central Plains, Mongolia, Jin, Manchurian, Liao, Xixia, Tubo, which one of them is not eyeing the Han's territory covetously? Although I'm not talented, I have always strived to fight against these barbarians. It's a pity that I am alone. If I can obtain the roaming king's treasure, I can naturally recruit more volunteers to join me in the great cause of the Han's revival. This just happened to scratch Miao Renfeng's itch. In his life, he hated the Tatars the most. He hated himself for not being able to kill all the Tatars in the world by himself. Seeing that this person in front of him also had this kind of ambition, with his high martial arts, he might really succeed. Miao Renfeng's expression had just loosened when he heard Miao Rulin's sweet voice say, Father, don't be fooled by this scoundrel. He used this kind of despicable method to coerce us. How could he be a good person? Miao Renfeng was shocked and could not help but blush with shame. He was too concerned and could not see through things as clearly as a child. The man in black saw that Miao Renfeng was a little tempted but was ruined by Miao Rulin. His face immediately sank and raised his hand to give Miao Rulin a slap. Shut up! Miao Renfeng immediately became furious. Your Excellency does not have the slightest bit of compassion. Even if your Excellency can restore the Han's country, you are only a tyrant. How can the roaming king's treasure fall into the hands of a lowly person like you? The man in black looked at his palm, and a trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. Why can't I control my emotions? I don't remember being like this in the past. Suddenly, his ears twitched, and he raised his head to look not far away, with a face full of vigilance. His eyes once again became firm and ruthless. Song Qingshu rushed over with icy snow in his arms. Seeing the scene in front of them, Icy Snow cried out in alarm, Brother Miao Rulin, what happened to you? When Miao Renfeng saw Song Qingshu's appearance, his heart was slightly relieved. Although he was dissatisfied with him seducing Hu Yidao's widow, he would not stand by and do nothing for Icy Snow's sake. He had seen Song Qingshu's martial arts. If he was here, little Rulin's life would most likely be saved. In fact, if Miao Renfeng was alone, he would probably rather die than let Song Qingshu save her. However, seeing his beloved daughter pretending to be strong, he really could not bear to see her leave this world. When a man in black saw Song Qingshu's appearance, his expression changed slightly. It's you. You know me? A trace of surprise flashed in Song Qingshu's eyes. Prince Song, be careful. This man's martial arts are very high, very high. Miao Renfeng was worried that Song Qingshu would be careless and quickly reminded him. At Song Qingshu's level of martial arts, it was natural for him to estimate his opponent's strength. This man in black gave him an unfathomable feeling. Not to mention that Miao Renfeng was in such a miserable state. How could he underestimate his opponent? The man in black snorted coldly. I heard that your Excellency has made a big name for yourself recently. I want to see if your martial arts are as magical as the rumors say. Song Qingshu was thinking that with the opponent's strength, it would be difficult for him to use the dragon catcher hand to suck Miao Rulin over like he did in the past. Seeing that the man had the intention to challenge him, Miao Renfeng was immediately overjoyed. He quickly said without batting an eyelid, whether it's magical or not, your Excellency will know once you try. Chapter 385. The black-clothed man's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. Just as he moved his feet, his entire body was like a cannonball that had just been fired, charging towards Song Qingshu with great momentum. His Qinggong is so good. Song Qingshu narrowed his eyes and quickly pushed Icy Snow to the side to prevent her from being accidentally injured by the two's chi forces. The man's Qinggong wasn't graceful and agile, but it was a straightforward and overbearing kind. In Song Qingshu's opinion, rather than saying that his Qinggong was good, it was better to say that he was fast. Just as Song Qingshu pushed Icy Snow away, the man in black arrived in front of him. Song Qingshu had comprehended the true essence of the 18 dragon subduing palms from the previous duel with Xiaofeng. Therefore, he raised his palm and didn't take out his wooden sword. In a flash, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. The more Song Qingshu fought, the more shocked he became. The man in black must have deliberately concealed his martial arts, using the most common martial arts in the pugilistic world. But even so, he wasn't at a disadvantage against Song Qingshu's 18 dragon subduing palms. A strange look flashed on the man in black's face. He didn't expect that his opponent, whom he could easily kill in seconds, could now be on par with him. Both of their qinggong were outstanding. Their figures flickered in midair, but when they made contact, it wasn't earth-shattering as he imagined. Instead, it was calm and silent. At this moment, Song Qingshu understood that although his opponent's moves were ordinary, he had used an extremely brilliant force dissipation technique. Most of his palm force was dissipated into thin air, so it was naturally difficult for him to injure his opponent. The man in black was also secretly shocked. The force on Song Qingshu's palm was fluctuating, strong, and weak. It was also very difficult for him to shift. If it wasn't for the fact that he had mastered the Sex Divine technique, he would have been seriously injured by his opponent's random change of force if he wasn't careful. Song Qingshu suddenly thought of martial art and couldn't help but exclaim, "Heaven and earth, great shift! It's you!" The black-clothed man sighed inwardly. He understood that Song Qingshu's martial arts were not inferior to his, so it would be difficult for him to take Song Qingshu's life. He didn't want to be wasted here, so he snorted and flashed toward Icy Snow. Icy Snow was watching the battle attentively, hesitating whether to help Song Qingshu. Seeing the man in black attacking her, she had an idea and waved the Yinling Jinsuo to strike the acupoints on his body. The black-clothed man stretched out his hand and gently brushed the silk belt. Icy Snow suddenly felt that all her strength had hit the air, and she was slightly injured in an instant. However, with this delay, Song Qingshu had arrived in time. Unexpectedly, the black-clothed man's attack on Icy Snow was a false pretense, and he took the opportunity to escape from the battlefield. Borrowing the recoil from Song Qingshu's palm strike, he quickly retreated. When he passed by Miao Renfeng, his palm landed on his chest, causing him to spit out blood. Song Qingshu was instantly enraged. Seeing that the black-clothed man was going to take Miao Rulan away, he immediately took out his wooden sword and shot toward him. Feeling the sharp sword aura behind him, the black-clothed man knew that if he continued to hold Miao Rulan hostage, he would be seriously injured on the spot. He quickly turned around to block the attack and struck away Song Qingshu's wooden sword with his palm. Looking at the beads of blood dripping from his fingers, the black-clothed man was momentarily stunned. He moved and quickly disappeared into the distant forest. Song Qingshu looked at the black-clothed man's back with a solemn expression, but he didn't chase after him. The fight just now allowed him to experience the black-clothed man's martial arts attainment. He understood that he wasn't confident that he could defeat the black-clothed man. Both of them were caught unprepared when they fought today, and it was far from a fight to the death. Moreover, Miao Renfeng was on the verge of death. He couldn't just abandon the father and daughter. Father! As soon as she was free, Miao Rulan pounced on Miao Renfeng, who was lying in a pool of blood. Lan seeing that his daughter was unharmed, Miao Renfeng's eyes flashed with a hint of relief. Song Qingshu came to Miao Renfeng's side and took out a snow ginseng jade toad pill from his bosom for him to swallow. Seeing Miao Renfeng's cheeks gradually rosy, he secretly sighed in his heart. The snow ginseng jade toad pill can only give him the last radiance of the setting sun. Just now, Zhang Wuji's palm had already broken his arteries and veins. Miao Renfeng had been in Jianghu for so many years, so he was naturally aware of his injuries. He smiled bitterly. "I didn't expect that I would need your help," Song Qingshu said lightly. "If it wasn't for sister-in-law's request, I wouldn't have saved you." Icy Snow rolled her eyes at him and looked at Miao Renfeng with concern. "Big brother Miao, don't listen to his nonsense. He's always like this, cold on the outside but warm on the inside." Miao Renfeng's life was coming to an end, so he accepted everything and didn't want to argue. He smiled sadly. Lady Who, for the sake of our past relationship, can you promise me one thing? Looking at the end of a generation of heroes, Icy Snow let out a faint sigh. Brother Meow, just say it. Meow and Fong held his daughter's hand and pulled her to Icy Snow. I want you to send her to her mother. But her mother is already... Icy Snow wanted to say something, but stopped. She was worried that it would reopen Meow Rinfeng's scars, so she didn't finish her sentence. From her point of view, Nanlon had abandoned her husband and daughter and would rather watch her daughter cry her heart out in the Shang clan's fort than follow Tian Guinon. Moreover, Tian Guinon also had a daughter, so it might not be a good choice for Miao Rulin to go to her. Miao Renfeng knew what she wanted to say. A trace of pain and loneliness flashed across her face. Lan is her biological daughter, after all. She will take good care of Lan Seeing that Miao Renfeng was insistent, Icy Snow couldn't say anything else. On the other hand, Song Qing-shu had a strange expression on his face. He thought that he had to hide this from Icy Snow in the future. If she knew that he bullied Nanlon as a plaything, she might really fall out with him. As for Miao Renfeng, he didn't feel guilty at all. After all, Nanlon was no longer his wife. What he did could be considered as taking revenge on Miao Renfeng for stealing his wife. Big Brother Miao, why did that person want to kill you? Icy Snow's face was filled with worry and confusion. Because Miao Renfeng was about to speak, but he suddenly looked at Song Qing-shu warily and shut his mouth. Noticing his little action, Song Qing-shu sneered. Isn't it just the roaming king's treasure? It's not like I don't know where that place is. He believed that with Zhang Wuji's identity and status, he wouldn't do something meaningless. Among the things that could be plotted against Miao Renfeng, Zhang Wuji definitely wouldn't be interested in martial arts or sword techniques. In that case, the only thing left was the roaming king's treasure. Lady Who, are you worthy of my saber? Miao Renfeng immediately glared at Icy Snow. Feeling anxious, she vomited a few more mouthfuls of blood. Icy Snow anxiously waved her hand and said with grievance, I didn't tell him. Seeing that Icy Snow was wronged so many times, Song Qing-shu said angrily, Sister-in-law isn't the only one who knows about the roaming king's treasure. Have you never thought that it was that person who told me about it? He deliberately mentioned Nanlon ambiguously. As expected, Miao Renfeng's expression changed. Why would she tell you about it? Take your time to guess. Song Qing-shu smiled faintly. He wasn't trying to anger Miao Renfeng, but he just couldn't stand the way Miao Renfeng bullied Icy Snow every time. Chapter 386. Seeing Song Qing-shu's ambiguous expression, Miao Renfeng's complexion became more and more unsightly. Miao Rulin hurriedly pulled on Song Qing-shu's sleeves and shook them as she said in a sweet voice, Big brother, don't make daddy angry, okay? Last time in Ping Yiji's wooden house, Miao Rulin not only witnessed Song Qing-shu's martial arts, but she was also shocked by the way he calmly controlled the life and death of all the men and women present. Little girls always worshipped heroes. Miao Rulin had always believed that her father was the most powerful person in the world until he was easily defeated by Zhang Wuji. Her dream was shattered. Fortunately, Song Qing-shu arrived in time and defeated the big bad guy, filling the gap in the little girl's heart. Miao Rulin looked at Song Qing-shu with eyes full of reverence. Seeing that he had always made her father angry, she couldn't help but ask for his help. Hearing the little girl's voice, Song Qing-shu's cold face revealed a warm smile. He nodded slightly and turned to Miao Renfeng. You don't need to think about those messy things. I learned about the roaming king's treasures through another channel. It has nothing to do with the person you're thinking about. Is it that Taoist Yunyu called Jin Yong that Uncle mentioned before? Icy Snow recalled that Song Qing-shu seemed to have mentioned this matter when the two of them returned from Swallow Dock for medical treatment. You still remember this? Song Qing-shu looked at her in surprise. Icy Snow smiled gently and didn't answer. She said in her heart, I remember every word you said. Hearing Icy Snow's words, Miao Renfeng no longer had any doubts. She sighed and said, Lady Who, I hope you can help me pass on a message. Tell her that I have given her the most important thing in my life. I hope she will take good care of it and find a good family for it in the future. Icy Snow was baffled. She thought, Nan Lan is Miao Rulin's mother. Does she need to remind her daughter's marriage? Song Qing-shu understood that Miao Renfeng was not referring to Miao Rulin, but the treasure map hidden in the jade hairpin on Nan Lan's head. Song Qing-shu hesitated for a moment, but still decided to tell him the truth. Hero Miao, I know you're worried about the secret being leaked, so there's a hidden meaning in your words. Actually, you don't have to be like this. I know all the secrets I need to know, even that hairpin. Miao Renfeng's expression changed. You. Song Qing-shu raised his hand to interrupt him. He turned to Icy Snow and Miao Rulin and said, Sister-in-law, please take Rulin over there. I have something to say to Hero Miao. Icy Snow looked at him worriedly, but still pulled Miao Rulin several feet away. Miao Renfeng snorted angrily. What do you want? Song Qing-shu replied, I want you to pass a message to Nan Lan. Ask her to give me the hairpin. Seeing that he knew everything, Miao Renfeng was shocked and angry. In your dreams. Song Qing-shu sneered. I know the approximate location of the roaming king's treasure, and I also know that the treasure map is hidden in the flower bead on your wife's hairpin. Now, she and Tian Guinong are living in my residence in the capital, so it's easy for me to get the treasure map. The reason why I didn't make a move to snatch it, but chose to let you personally agree to give it to me, is because I admire your open and honest life, running around for the sake of the great cause of fighting against the Qing dynasty. Although I don't like you, I admire you. That's why I don't want to wait for you to bully the orphans and widows after you die, so that you'll be angry in the afterlife. Miao Renfeng suddenly became silent, and after a long time she asked, What do you want to do in the roaming king's treasure? Song Qing-shu looked at the sky, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. I need it to be used for military expenses. I'll help you accomplish the things that you people couldn't do. Hearing this, Miao Renfeng couldn't help but sneer. What a big tone. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? For so many years, there were countless volunteer armies in the Manchurian Qing territory, but whether it was to fight against the Qing, restore the Ming, or simply to fight against the Qing, none of them had any hope of success. According to Miao Renfeng's knowledge, although Song Qing-shu's martial arts were high, he was alone, so what use was he to the big picture? You don't believe me? Song Qing-shu said with a smile. Miao Renfeng coldly snorted. Her meaning was very clear. Song Qing-shu said, In order to increase my persuasiveness, I can tell you that the Golden Snake Battalion is already in my pocket. Moreover, I have long since reached an agreement with the 9th princess of the Ming dynasty. With the Golden Snake Battalion as the base, and with the previous Ming princess's righteous status, overthrowing the Manchurian Qing will naturally be twice the effort with half the result. In the past, when the Golden Snake King Yuan Qingji was still alive, the Golden Snake Battalion was so powerful, but it still couldn't cause any real impact on the Qing court. Now that the sun is setting in the west, what use is there for you to take over? Although Miao Renfeng said this, her tone was already relaxed. Have you heard the news that I tried to assassinate Kangxi? Song Qing-shu suddenly asked. Miao Renfeng nodded. I know. Although you failed, you are still worthy of respect. If it wasn't for this matter, based on your previous actions, no matter how high your martial arts were, you would not be of any importance to me. Song Qing-shu smiled faintly. You are well aware of my martial arts. Do you think I will fail the assassination? Miao Renfeng was stunned at first, but her expression quickly changed. You mean, Song Qing-shu stood with his hand behind his back. That's right, the real Kangxi is already dead. Miao Renfeng's mouth slightly opened. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Soon after, a trace of ecstasy rose in her heart. So many people's career had been completed by this person in front of her. When Miao Rulin was summoned to her father's side, she noticed an indescribable excitement in her father's eyes. She heard him instruct her, Lan after you see your mother, ask her to give the phoenix head scarlet hairpin to this brother Song. Tell her that I personally told her to remember. Although Miao Rulin was confused, she still replied, "Loner understands." Miao Renfeng suddenly placed Miao Rulin's hand in Song Qingshu's. Song Xiaoxia. "I'll leave Loner in your care from now on." As soon as she said this, Miao Rulin shyly looked at Song Qingshu, then quickly lowered her eyes, leaving only her long eyelashes trembling slightly. Song Qingshu was also stunned on the spot, and Icy Snow's expression was even more strange. She thought to herself, "You just asked me to bring your daughter to her mother, and now you're entrusting her to a man. What's going on?" Moreover, from Miao Renfeng's tone, Icy Snow felt as if he was entrusting Miao Rulin with his life, which made her feel even more uncomfortable. She couldn't help but glare fiercely at Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu understood that Icy Snow might have misunderstood that it was because of what he said to Miao Renfeng just now. He felt that it was difficult to explain himself, so he quickly said, "Hero Miao, I'm afraid that's not very convenient." Miao Renfeng felt the vitality in her body gradually fading away. She said weakly, "I've given you such a big gift, but you're still not willing to take care of my daughter?" Hearing Miao Renfeng's words, Song Qingshu was instantly speechless. He could only nod and said, "If that's the case, Song Mao will do his best to take care of your daughter. I won't let her come to any harm." Miao Renfeng had no other choice. Originally, he wanted to entrust his daughter to Nan Lan, but Nan Lan was already married to someone else. Moreover, when he thought about Tian Guanong's character, Miao Renfeng was worried that Miao Rulin would be wronged if she were to follow Nan Lan. Now that he knew about Song Qingshu's situation, he naturally felt that it would be more reassuring to entrust his daughter to Song Qingshu than to entrust her to a dangerous place like the Tian residence. Seeing Miao Rulin standing there with a bashful expression, Icy Snow was stunned. Hearing Miao Renfeng's words, it seemed like she had already given her dowry to Song Qingshu. Miao Rulin also didn't seem to object to it. Her heart was pounding. "Lan I can't take care of you anymore. You must listen to Song Xiaoxia in the future. With him taking care of you, I'm sure you'll be able to live happily in this chaotic world." Miao Renfeng's gaze gradually became lax. It was clear that the effect of the snow ginseng jade toad pill was about to wear off. Song Qingshu let out a sigh and helped Icy Snow to the side, leaving the father and daughter with their last moments alone. "What did you say to Big Brother Miao just now? Why did he betroth Rulin to you?" When the two of them were several feet away from each other, Icy Snow gently shook off Song Qingshu's arm and looked at him quietly while biting her lips. "What betrothal? Don't spout nonsense." Song Qingshu was instantly shocked. "He just asked me to take care of her. How can he do that?" Icy Snow had a doubtful look on her face. "Big Brother Miao clearly looks like he's looking at his son-in-law. You're thinking too much." Song Qingshu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The reason why he's happy is because of another matter. At the end of the day, we're just making a deal. What deal? Icy Snow wasn't a jealous woman. She actually knew that with her status, it was impossible for her to be together with Song Qingshu openly. Thus, she didn't mind him marrying another woman. However, it was one thing for her to not mind him marrying another woman. It would be a big problem if he wanted to marry her niece. Recently, Icy Snow had thoroughly experienced a certain aspect of Song Qingshu's evilness. Glancing at Miao Rulin, who was like a little white flower not far away, she thought to herself, "Isn't Miao Renfeng sending a lamb to the tiger's den by leaving her daughter in Song Qingshu's care?" Icy Snow could be said to be the person that Song Qingshu trusted the most in this world. Song Qingshu felt that there was no harm in telling her about the matter of stealing the sky and replacing Kangxi. It was just that he had been indulging in the pleasure of her boudoir and hadn't had the time to tell her about it. Just as he was about to relay the conversation with Miao Renfeng to Icy Snow, they suddenly heard Miao Rulin burst into tears. Both of them turned around and saw that the golden-faced Buddha, who had once shaken the pugilistic world and was invincible, had passed away. Song Qingshu buried Miao Renfeng in the nearby forest and engraved on the tombstone the words, "In the heavens and on the earth, I am the only one who reigns supreme." Throughout the ages, the invincible golden-faced Buddha, Miao Renfeng. Initially, Song Qing-shu was still hesitant. He was worried that someone passing by would feel indignant and destroy the tomb after seeing the tombstone. However, on second thought, he realized that since Miao Renfeng had made such a name for himself, why should he destroy his aura after his death? However, to be safe, Song Qing-shu engraved these words on the tombstone with a sharp sword aura. Ordinary thieves would be disturbed by the sword aura on the tombstone as soon as they approached it. If it were a real martial arts expert, they would naturally admire the sword aura on the tombstone and wouldn't destroy it rashly. Miss Miao, I'm sorry for your loss. Standing beside Miao Ruolin, Song Qing-shu felt awkward. It was inappropriate to address this little Lolita as Mississippi. However, if he didn't address her as Miss, Song Qing-shu didn't know how to address her. Chapter 387. Big brother, you can call me Lana from now on. Miao Ruolin lifted her head to look at Song Qing-shu. Her sparkling big eyes were filled with tears, and they were slightly red and swollen from crying just now. Lana, I will take good care of you from now on, Song Qing-shu said softly as he squatted down and grabbed the little lowly shoulder. Miao Ruolin's little face blushed for no reason, and she replied in a soft voice. Noticing her shy look, Song Qing-shu was stunned. In all honesty, he only treated Miao Ruolin as a child, so he didn't pay much attention to the etiquette between men and women. Who would have thought that Miao Renfeng had raised Miao Ruolin like a rich young lady since she was a child? Miao Ruolin had never been in contact with other men. Feeling Song Qing-shu's warm and steady hands on her shoulder, she naturally felt shy. Girls in ancient times are more mature than those in modern society. While Song Qing-shu was cursing in his heart, Icy Snow had already slapped his hand away and complained, "Little Ruolin is a girl. How can a man like you touch her body so casually?" Song Qing-shu was unconvinced and muttered, "She's still so young." Icy Snow was worried that Miao Ruolin would misunderstand Song Qing-shu, so she pretended to reprimand, but was actually explaining to Miao Ruolin, who knew that she would be immediately dumbfounded when she heard what Miao Ruolin said next. "Annie, don't blame Big Brother. Since Daddy entrusted Lon to Big Brother, then Big Brother is Lon-er's relative. Lon naturally won't blame him. Auntie? Big Brother?" Icy Snow was stunned for a moment, and these two words kept echoing in her head. Lon is so obedient. Seeing Icy Snow's expression as if she had been dealt a critical blow, Song Qing-shu held back his laughter. Suddenly, he noticed the redness on Miao Ruolin's face and understood that she was slapped by Zhang Wuji just now. He couldn't help but feel sorry for her. "Lana, come here. Big Brother will help you remove the bruise on your face." Miao Ruolin moved over obediently and leaned on Song Qing-shu. She could feel his palm, which was filled with true qi, caressing her face. Her heart was beating wildly. Song Qing-shu did not pay attention to Miao Ruolin's reaction. Instead, he fell into a state of confusion. Although he knew that the Zhang Wuji of this world was not the honest, kind, and indecisive protagonist of the original novel, he was still shocked to see him bully a little girl without any tender feelings. What was going on with this Zhang Wuji? Seeing that Song Qing-shu seemed to be absent-minded and kept rubbing Miao Ruolin's face, Icy Snow couldn't stand it anymore. She coughed and said, "Lon-er's face is no longer swollen." "Ah!" Song Qing-shu came to his senses and noticed that the little girl in his arms was already blushing. He couldn't help but look embarrassed. "We'd better hurry on with our journey. Now that everyone is rushing to the east, the Golden Snake camp must be gathering demons. I'm a little worried that something has happened there." Song Qing-shu laughed and quickly changed the topic. "Yes, I'm also worried that Sister Xia can't handle it." Icy Snow nodded. When the two of them were affectionate some time ago, Song Qing-shu had roughly told her the whole plan. She was also aware of Xia Qingqing's existence. "Ouch!" Miao Ruolin suddenly held her ankle in pain. "What's wrong?" Song Shu asked with concern. I think I sprained my ankle when I was running away just now. Maybe it's broken. Meow Rulin frowned. When she thought of how her father had risked his life to stop the men in black so that she could run away quickly, she became sad again and her eyes turned red. Song Shu pinched her ankle a few times and breathed a sigh of relief. Lana, don't worry. It's just a sprain. Your bones are fine. You'll be fine after a few days of rest. How about this? I'll carry you for the rest of the journey. Meow Rulin nodded and suddenly asked softly, Big brother, I don't want you to carry me. Can you carry me and walk? Ah. Song Shu was stunned. Icy Snow also looked at her curiously. Meow Rulin hurriedly lowered her head under the strange gazes of the two and said, Father used to carry me like that. Song Shu and Icy Snow looked at each other, and an image appeared in their minds. Meow Rinfeng, with a sallow face, holding a sword in her right hand, and Meow Rulin in her left, walking on the road with a lonely face. She's still a child after all. Song Shu sighed softly. He understood that Meow Rulin, who had just lost her father, would not be able to restore her joyful and innocent smile for a while. All right, Song Shu smiled. He grabbed Meow Rulin's legs and lifted her up. Noticing Song Shu's pitiful smile, Icy Snow was a little embarrassed. What was I thinking just now? Uncle obviously treats Rulin like a child. As a woman, Icy Snow realized that Meow Rulin seemed to have a strange feeling for Song Shu. Moreover, she had recently tasted Song Shu's licentious side. She was afraid that something would happen between the two of them, and Meow Rulin would regret it for the rest of her life when she grew up. Now that she confirmed that Song Shu was not as unbearable as she had imagined, Icy Snow stuck out her tongue subconsciously. Could it be that, during this period of time, I've forgotten that Uncle is actually a gentleman? Unlike Icy Snow, who was full of worries, Meow Rulin quietly placed her face on Song Shu's shoulder and suddenly asked, Big brother, can you teach me martial arts? Song Shu paused and smiled bitterly. Your father's martial arts are excellent, but he won't teach you anything because he wants you to stay away from the grudges of the martial world. Lana only hates that I'm useless. Not only can I not help my father in times of crisis, but I've also dragged him down. Meow Rulin's expression turned gloomy, and she looked like she was about to cry. Do you want to take revenge? Song Shu asked in a deep voice. Yes. Meow Rulin nodded and said in a firm tone, I dare not take revenge for my father's death. Lana, that man in black is also Big Brother's enemy. Big Brother will avenge you. Song Shu knew that he and Zhang Wuji would have to fight sooner or later. Some people were destined to be enemies for life. That man's martial arts are very good. Lana can help Big Brother in the future after learning martial arts. Meow Rulin tilted her head and thought for a while, but she still did not waver in her determination to learn martial arts. Song Shu smiled slightly. Lana wants to learn martial arts. Big Brother can teach you, but Lana has to promise me one thing. Meow Rulin's face was filled with joy, and she said excitedly, Don't mention one thing. Even if it's 100 or 1,000 things, I'll agree to it. Icy Snow was shocked. She thought to herself, You're a girl. How can you casually say such things to a man? Moreover, she knew very well that Song Shu did not adhere to etiquette and was frivolous. She was afraid that Song Shu would make some shocking request. How can there be so many conditions? Song Shu smiled. There's only one condition, Lana. You must not live in hatred in the future. Otherwise, your father will definitely be sad in the underworld. Hearing his words, Meow Rulin's heart could not help but tremble. There was an inexplicable look in her eyes. After a long silence, she suddenly nodded heavily. Yes, since Big Brother said so, Lana will definitely do it. You don't have to be so serious. Song Shu laughed. Lana, what martial arts do you want to learn first? Meow Rulin showed a troubled expression. Lana doesn't know martial arts, so I don't know what to learn first. Big Brother is confused. Song Shu thought for a while. Why don't you teach Lana a set of Qigong first? If a girl learns this, she won't be stained with murderous aura and will also have the ability to protect herself. Okay. Meow Rulin clapped her hands excitedly. Song Qing-shu passed Miao Rulin to icy snow and sorted out his thoughts. I know a total of 4 types of qigong. I'll perform them one by one, and Lanner, you will see which one you like to learn. Yes. Miao Rulin nodded and stared at him without blinking, afraid that she would miss a single detail. The first type, lizard climbing the wall. Song Qing-shu stood between 2 towering trees and leaped up. The tip of his foot tapped lightly on one of the tree trunks, and his entire body floated towards the other tree like a feather. Just as he was about to crash into it, he tapped again. He repeated the process and flew to the top of the tree in a zigzag trajectory. After jumping down from the tree, Song Qing-shu explained to Miao Rulin, the essence of the lizard climbing the wall is to borrow strength. It's a necessary weapon for jumping over eaves and vaulting over walls. Miao Rulin wrinkled her nose and shook her head slightly. What a terrible name. Lana doesn't like it. Icy Snow couldn't help but burst into laughter. Song Qing-shu touched his nose awkwardly. The name is indeed a little inelegant and not suitable for girls to practice. How about this, Lana? Take a look at Ascending Cloud Ladder? As soon as he finished speaking, Song Qing-shu shot up into the sky like a sharp arrow. Just as he was about to fall, he leaped more than 10 feet up in the air. After landing, Song Qing-shu explained, in terms of vertical leap, none of the qigong in the world can compare to Wudong's Ascending Cloud Ladder. This is good. Lana wants to learn it. Miao Rulin's eyes lit up. Good? Song Qing-shu was speechless. There are 2 more types of qigong. You could decide which one to learn after you see it. Miao Rulin nodded hurriedly. Song Qing-shu secretly transmitted his voice to Icy Snow and said, take a good look too. I'll teach you when the time comes. Icy Snow's cheeks heated up, but she understood that he wanted her to have more skills to protect herself. She was touched and nodded subtly. The snake form flipping technique comes from the 9 manual. It's very useful in dodging the enemy's attack during a fight. Seeing that Song Qing-shu was rolling on the ground in a strange posture, Miao Rulin quickly shouted, stop, stop, stop. Lana won't learn this. Song Qing-shu shrugged, as if he knew this would happen. He continued to transmit his voice to Icy Snow. I know Rulin won't learn this. The reason why I'm showing it is so that you can learn it. After all, you often fight with others. If you learn this, you might be able to dodge a fatal blow in the future. Seeing that Icy Snow was carefully appreciating it, Song Qing-shu turned to look at Miao Rulin and said, the last qigong, traceless sand treading. As soon as he finished speaking, he shot out like a cannonball to a tree trunk several dozen feet away. With a tap of his toes, he quickly returned. The whole process happened in the blink of an eye. Traceless sand treading is the best qigong in the world. Song Qing-shu looked proud, thinking that Miao Rulin would definitely choose this. Unexpectedly, Miao Rulin pouted and said, no. Chapter 388. Song Qing-shu's smile froze. Why? Flying so fast, your hair, clothes, and everything else will be messed up. It's bad for a girl's appearance. Lana doesn't want it. Miao Rulin counted on her fingers to point out the shortcomings of traceless sand treading. Hearing Miao Rulin's self-righteous words, Icy Snow could not help but cover her mouth and chuckle. Song Qing-shu felt that the wind was messed up, and he cursed in his heart. How did Miao Rinfeng raise her daughter? All right, then I'll teach you the Ascending Cloud Ladder. Song Qing-shu was speechless, and he carefully explained the formula to Miao Rulin. Although Miao Rulin was young, she was very smart and could quickly understand what Song Qing-shu was teaching. Moreover, Song Qing-shu came from the future, and he especially pursued the understanding of various martial arts principles, so he explained things in simple terms, which allowed Miao Rulin, who had no foundation in martial arts, to understand. Why can I only jump a little lower? Miao Rulin pouted, looking angry. Although her feet were injured, she felt that she had already understood what Song Qing-shu had just taught her, who knew that the result would make her exceptionally depressed. That's because you, Lana, don't have any inner force in you. Song Qing-shu smiled as he patted her head and explained, you have to learn inner force. The higher your inner force, the better your qigong. Miao Rulin's depressed expression was swept away, and she said excitedly, Okay, big brother, hurry up and teach Lana the internal energy that I'm best at. Song Qing-shu reached out his hand, grabbed Miao Rulin's leg, and picked her up. As they hurried along, he said awkwardly, I'm afraid that the internal energy that I'm best at is not suitable for you. Even though the blissful Diana was the most profound internal strength of the tantric sect, it sounded too obscene when explained. Wouldn't it pollute the ears of a little girl like Miao Rulin if she heard it? What? Miao Rulin blinked her big bright eyes and looked at him innocently. Song Qing-shu stammered and didn't know how to answer. On the other hand, Icy Snow blushed. She had personally experienced Song Qing-shu's cultivation technique. Recalling the entire process made her feel embarrassed. Lana, be a good girl. You're not strong enough to cultivate that technique yet. Let your big brother teach you something easy to learn first. Icy Snow couldn't bear to see Song Qing-shu being humiliated, so she quickly helped Song Qing-shu out of the predicament. I see. Miao Rulin's face was filled with disappointment. However, she quickly cheered up and said, In that case, big brother can teach me that kind of martial art when I'm strong enough. Icy Snow blacked out and almost fell to the ground. Song Qing-shu smiled embarrassedly. Let's talk about that later. The internal energy that Big Brother is going to teach you is called the Nine Manual. It's the top cultivation technique in Taoism. Its feminine characteristics are more suitable for women to cultivate. Lan has never learned martial arts before. Won't it be too difficult for her if you teach her this profound internal energy all of a sudden? Icy Snow asked worriedly. Song Qing-shu explained, It's indeed difficult for her to understand the contents of the Nine Manual by herself. I don't intend to teach her the specific scripture. Instead, I'm going to teach her the circulation path of the Nine Manual's internal energy. As long as she remembers the route and diligently cultivates it every day, it won't be difficult for her to learn it. However, if she wants to master it, she can only slowly understand it when she grows up. By the way, you should learn it as well. The ancient tomb sect's Jade Maiden Heart Sutra is too dangerous. You can easily go berserk. It's really useless. It's fine if you don't learn it. Icy Snow shook her head slightly. Her tone was gentle, but her attitude was firm. I've clearly told you before why I don't want to learn this. Moreover, Ancestor Grandmother was able to fight evenly with the head of the five uniques, Wang Chongyang, with the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra. I believe that it might not be inferior to the Nine Manual once it's cultivated to a deeper level. I see. Song Qing-shu's face suddenly revealed a hint of ambiguity. He moved closer to her ear and said, Last time, I was disturbed when I was cultivating the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra, causing me to fall short of success. I'll practice it with you next time, okay? No. Icy Snow bit her lips. I'll find little junior sister to practice with me next time. Come to think of it, it's all your fault. You made little junior sister leave. A picture emerged in Song Qing-shu's mind. Two stunning beauties, one beautiful enough to cause calamity to the country and the people, and the other mature and elegant. Not a single piece of clothing was on their bodies as they practiced inner force together. Wait, why does my nose feel a little itchy? Big brother, when are you going to teach me inner force? The two of them were flirting. Little Rulin, who was left to the side, suddenly felt a little bored. Icy Snow came back to her senses. She could not help but glare at Song Qing-shu. I'll scout ahead first. You teach little Rulin well. Song Qing-shu knew that Icy Snow did not want to hear the Nine Manual's chant, so she took the opportunity to leave. Then be careful. Don't worry. Our ancient tomb sect's little junior sister can defeat the Mongolian state preceptor. No matter how weak I am, I should have no problem protecting myself. Icy Snow was a little dissatisfied when she saw Song Qing-shu treating her like a porcelain doll. Song Qing-shu also realized that he was overthinking. Icy Snow's martial arts were not bad. Although there were not many words written about her martial arts in the original work, she was able to defeat a group of Heavenly Dragon sect's rascals with a silk belt. She could even see the flaws in Miao Renfeng's swordsmanship. This was something that even Hui Dao could not see. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, Icy Snow's martial arts was not inferior to Hui Dao's. After Song Qing-shu came to this world, he taught her the white python whip technique. Icy Snow was now considered a first-class expert in the pugilistic world. Even if she encountered those grandmasters, she should have no problem protecting herself with the ancient Toon Sect's top-notch lightness skill. Big brother, do you like Annie? Miao Rulin tilted her head and asked when she saw Song Qing-shu staring at Icy Snow's receding figure. What are you talking about? No matter how thick-skinned Song Qing-shu was, he did not dare to admit their intimate relationship in front of Miao Rulin. After all, the relationship between the Hu and Miao families was a little special, and Icy Snow was the Hu family's widow. I'm relieved. Miao Rulin breathed a sigh of relief. Song Qing-shu asked curiously, "What are you relieved about?" "Nothing." Miao Rulin lowered her head, and a mysterious blush flashed across her face. She suddenly raised her head. "Big brother, when I grow up, I will marry you, okay?" What did you say?" Song Qing-shu suddenly had a ridiculous illusion. "It's fine if you didn't hear me clearly." Miao Rulin's small and delicate face was tender and beautiful. "Big brother, let's start learning inner force." "Oh," Song Qing-shu thought to himself. "Why are the minds of little girls nowadays so complicated? How can I dispel this kind of idea of hers? I can't tell her that I've already slept with her mother." Song Qing-shu shook his head and cleared his mind of the complicated thoughts. He straightened his expression and said slowly, "Lan because you have no foundation in martial arts, you don't know how to breathe and circulate qi. So, I will inject a stream of vital energy into your body later and control it to circulate in your meridians. What you need to do is to remember the order of the vital energy through each acupoint and learn diligently in the future." "Okay," Miao Rulin snorted. Song Qing-shu observed his surroundings. Although there were few people in the vicinity, he still carried Miao Rulin and jumped onto a big tree, just in case. This way, even if someone were to pass by later, it would be difficult to disturb the two people in the air. Miao Rulin only heard the wind whistling in her ears. By the time she came to her senses, she was already standing on a tree branch dozens of feet above the ground. Looking down, Miao Rulin suddenly felt dizzy. Her whole body swayed, and she was about to fall. "Be careful." Song Qing-shu hurriedly supported her. With Song Qing-shu by her side, Miao Rulin suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of security. She replied crisply, "Big brother, Lan will close her eyes. I won't look down anymore. Let's start." "Okay." Song Qing-shu stretched out his finger and pointed at Miao Rulin's back, injecting a stream of vital energy into her body. Originally, because of the Joy Zen, Song Qing-shu's 9-yin vital energy and divine illumination vital energy had completely merged with the Joy vital energy and disappeared. However, not long ago, Song Qing-shu had comprehended the mystery of the virtual dantian. Naturally, he could easily simulate the 9-yin vital energy. Feeling a cold breath enter her body, Miao Rulin couldn't help but let out a moan. Hearing this, Song Qing-shu's heart skipped a beat. He quickly came to his senses and secretly despised himself. "She's such a little girl, you bastard. How could you imagine such a dirty thing just by listening to her voice?" Lan remember the path of vital energy circulation. Song Qing-shu quickly gathered his thoughts and carefully controlled the flow of vital energy. Miao Rulin was still young and delicate. If he was not careful, he could hurt her meridians. Therefore, Song Qing-shu had to be careful. At first, Miao Rulin deliberately endured it. But as time went on, the tingling feeling in her body became more and more obvious. She couldn't help but giggle. "Big brother, Lan is so itchy." Hearing her delicate and sweet breath, Song Qing-shu's expression became a little unnatural. He didn't expect Miao Rulin's body to be so sensitive. Now that the arrow on the bow had to be fired, if he suddenly withdrew his vital energy, Miao Rulin might suffer serious internal injuries. After thinking for a while, he said, "I will try my best to slow down the speed of vital energy circulation. Lan, gather your thoughts and focus on memorizing the path. Okay, Lon will remember it well. Meow Rulin's pretty face was dark red, and her body trembled slightly. But she was still young and naive, so she quickly calmed down and began to memorize the acupoints through which vital energy flowed. This made things difficult for Song Qing-shu. Meow Rulin's soft breathing from time to time disturbed his mind. Originally, in order to let Meow Rulin remember as much as possible, he planned to guide the vital energy to circulate 3 times in her body. But now, after completing one cycle, he hurriedly withdrew his fingers and asked with an unnatural expression, "Lana, do you remember it?" "Only a small part," Meow Rulin said timidly. She felt a little embarrassed and was afraid that Song Qing-shu would blame her. "Big brother, why don't you let the vital energy circulate in Lana's body again? That way, I should be able to remember more than half of it. This is really killing me." Of course, Song Qing-shu wouldn't be as reckless as before and caught himself unprepared. He quickly comforted her, "Lana, don't worry. You knew nothing about meridians and acupoints before. You just listened to my hurried explanation just now. It's already good enough that you can remember a small part of it. Next, when you're familiar with the acupoints and meridians of the human body, I will guide you again with vital energy." Chapter 389. Thank you, Big Brother. Meow Rulin smiled with her eyes curved like crescent moons. As long as you remember the circulation path of your vital energy, you will be able to cultivate your inner energy every day. Gradually nourish and strengthen the vital energy that I have injected into your body. Our little Lon will also become a martial arts expert. Looking at Meow Rulin's innocent face, Song Qing-shu's heart was filled with tenderness and affection. How's Lana young? In another 2 to 3 years, Lana will reach the age of marriage. Meow Rulin pouted and said with dissatisfaction, "Nonsense. I don't know which bastard decided to allow women in your era to get married at such a young age. Their bodies are obviously not mature yet. Once they get pregnant, the child will die easily and the mother will have dystocia. This is outrageous." Song Qing-shu was furious. In his previous life, women could only get married at the age of 20. Although there was a reason for the birth control policy, at least a woman's physical development was taken into consideration. In this world, women could get married at the age of 12 and give birth at the slightest provocation. It was really too destructive to a woman's body. Considering that this world had been in the flames of war for years and there was a shortage of men, it encouraged childbearing. It was unrealistic to ask women to get married at the age of 20 like in his previous life. But no matter what, the woman had to be at least 16. Oh no, 18. Meow Rulin looked at Song Qing-shu, who was throwing a tantrum, and said, "For thousands of years, women can get married at this age." Song Qing-shu almost fell to the ground. It was indeed difficult for her to change the values of 2 different worlds. Forget it. Let's not think about this for now. Let's go look for your aunt." "Okay." Meow Rulin nodded obediently. "Hold Big Brother's hand tightly." Song Qing-shu hugged Meow Rulin and chased in the direction where icy snow disappeared. Before long, Song Qing-shu saw icy snow returning from the front in a hurry. He stopped and asked Ice, "Sister-in-law, what happened ahead?" In front of Meow Rulin, Song Qing-shu and Icy Snow were naturally too embarrassed to be too intimate. However, at this moment, Meow Rulin was immersed in the wonderful feeling of leaning on Song Qing-shu's arms. Her face was flushed with excitement, and she didn't notice that the 2 of them addressed each other unnaturally. Icy Snow clearly understood what he meant. She said in a slightly distant, yet somewhat charming voice, "Uncle, there are 2 groups of people confronting each other ahead. They are quarreling very fiercely, and it seems like they will fight at any time. Oh, it's such a dangerous world. Fighting and killing are so common." Song Qing-shu lamented. "By the way, do you know who they are?" Icy Snow furrowed her brows and pondered for a moment. "I feel that the martial arts of both sides are sloppy and ordinary, except for a middle-aged man who seems to be exuding the aura of an expert. They seem to be arguing about King Tang and King Gui. They should be some righteous people who want to fight against the Qing dynasty. Let's go take a look. Song Qingshu said in a deep voice. Now that the world was in chaos and foreign races were wreaking havoc, the Han people should unite all forces that could be united. They couldn't let these righteous people kill each other and make their enemies happy. Holding Miao Rulin in his arms and icy snow by his side, Song Qingshu had a ridiculous illusion. There was a saying in his previous life that a cool man should carry a heavy sword on his back, have a lowly in his arms, and have a huge eagle by his side. I happen to have a lowly with a soft body and a soft voice in my arms. Even though I don't have a recondite iron heavy sword, my wooden sword is also from Dugu, seeking Abai's lineage. As for the huge eagle, Song Qingshu gave icy snow a strange look. Since they're both mounts, there shouldn't be much of a difference. Noticing the strange look in Song Qingshu's eyes, icy snow touched her cheeks and asked in puzzlement, "Is there anything dirty on my face? Why are you staring at me like that, uncle? How can there be anything dirty on Annie's face?" Big Brother must have seen how pretty Annie is and couldn't help but peek at you. As a result, Auntie caught him in the act. Miao Rulin chuckled, looking as though she wanted the world to be in chaos. Kids shouldn't talk nonsense. Icy Snow blushed, but she agreed with Miao Rulin's guess. Song Qingshu withdrew his gaze guiltily and smiled embarrassedly. If Icy Snow knew what he was thinking, she would definitely fall out with him. How would he have a chance to ride her in the future? When the three of them used their qinggong to move forward, it didn't take long before a pavilion appeared not far away. Two groups of people were confronting each other, and quarreling sounds could be heard from time to time. The person on the left was about 25 or 26 years old. He was tall and thin, full of heroic spirit, and had a slightly tanned face. Behind him were more than a dozen pugilistic men. Noticing a gorgeous woman standing behind him, Song Qingshu was startled. "Isn't this Fong Yi?" If he hadn't suddenly seen her now, Song Qingshu would have forgotten about this woman. To be honest, due to the influence of the scheming B*TCH in the original work, Song Qingshu didn't have a good impression of Fong Yi at all. If it wasn't for the sake of deceiving Su Quan on the way to the Divine Dragon Island, and the fact that Fong Yi was somewhat good-looking, he wouldn't have slept with this woman. After having sex with her, Song Qingshu was actually quite regretful about this one-night stand. Therefore, when Fong Yi later proposed to look for the missing little princess Mu Jianpain, he didn't have the slightest intention to hold her back and let her go. Noticing the young girl by Fong Yi's side, she had light eyebrows and long eyelashes, a small mouth and a tall nose, a beautiful appearance, and a naive and innocent look. Song Qingshu thought that this must be the little princess Mu Jianpain of the Mu Palace, and the young man in the lead must be the little duke of the Mu Palace, Mu Jiansheng. Song Qingshu wondered which force the Mu Palace was fighting with. Looking to the right, he saw a formidable group of people. Their faces were brimming with the manner of Wulin masters. However, in Song Qingshu's eyes, they were nothing more than a group of low-level Jianghu thugs. On the contrary, the bearded middle-aged man in the front seemed to have some attainments in internal energy. Looking at his posture, he seemed to be the bodyguard of the young master next to him. This young master had a good appearance, but it was unclear which force he came from. The young master said in a loud and clear voice, "In the future, we will kill all the Tartars, and we will protect the descendants of Emperor Hongwu to return to the royal court." Mu Jiansheng replied in a deep voice, "His Majesty is holding a banquet for several days, leaving only the crown prince, who is actually an intelligent and far-sighted hero. Presently, he is living in seclusion deep in mountains." The young master sneered incessantly and said in a mystifying tone, "The Son of Heaven is in Taiwan." Suddenly, Song Qingshu was enlightened. Turned out he was from Taiwan's Zheng family. Looking at this young master's appearance, if he was not mistaken, he was the tall, handsome, and rich Zheng Keshuang who snatched Ah Ku from Wei Xiaobao into the deer in the cauldron, and in the end almost became a happy father. Speaking of Ah Ku, Song Qingshu suddenly remembered the last time Wu Sangui sent her to the imperial palace and tactfully presented her to Kangxi. Now that Kangxi was dead, Aku had become a hot potato. Chapter 390. Aka not only inherited her mother Chun Yuanyuan's beauty, but compared to Chun Yuanyuan, who had lost her virginity to different men several times, Aku was still a pure young girl. With such a beauty in the palace, Kangxi, a pervert like him, Song Qingshu had seen with his own eyes how many beautiful concubines there were in the Forbidden City, actually refrained from making a move on her. It was because Wu Sangui's reputation in this world was too bad. In order to stabilize the country, on one hand, Kangxi wantonly suppressed various anti-Qing, restoring Ming organizations. On the other hand, he issued a lot of conciliatory government decrees to win over the people. If he were to take Aku in as his concubine, the Han people of the world would probably be bitterly disappointed. In Kangxi's heart, compared to the country, a beauty was nothing. Therefore, not long after Aku was sent here, Kangxi threw her into Prince Kang's mansion to be raised. First, to avoid arousing suspicion. Second, to put her under house arrest as a hostage to threaten Wu Sangui. Song Qingshu now had the same worries as Kangxi. He really didn't know whether to let Aku go or not. Very soon, the quarrel in the pavilion interrupted Song Qingshu's train of thought. He heard Mu Jiansheng angrily say, "When did our little emperor go to Taiwan?" Zheng Kashuang chuckled. "I'm talking about the little emperor son of Heaven Long Wu, not King Gui's descendant." Mu Jiansheng's face alternated between green and white. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly said, "The governor of Taiwan has always admired you for expelling the red-haired ghost and recovering Taiwan." He didn't expect his descendants to be so ignorant. Emperor Chongzhen passed away. Prince Fu became independent. Prince Fu was captured by the Qing army. Prince Tang unfortunately died for the country. Emperor Yongli, became the king of the world. After Emperor Yongli died for his country, it was naturally His Majesty's descendant who succeeded the throne. "I've heard that your elder brother, Zheng Kesong, is experienced and prudent. I wonder why Lord Guoxing sent you to participate in such an important meeting?" Although Mu Jiansheng's words did not contain any profanity, each sentence was aimed at Zheng Keshuang's vital points. It should be known that the successor to the Yinping Wang estate in Taiwan was his older brother Zheng Kesong. Zheng Keshuang had been dissatisfied for a long time, so he wanted to show that he was better than Zheng Kesong in everything. What he hated the most was hearing others say that he was inferior to his older brother in any way. Zheng Keshuang was enraged as expected when he heard the ridicule in Mu Jiansheng's tone. From the side, Song Qingshu finally understood what was going on. It turned out to be the long-standing struggle between the Tang and the Gui princes. Back then, Li Chuang invaded Beijing and hounded Emperor Chongzhen to death. Wu Sangui led the Qing army into the pass and occupied the beautiful rivers and mountains of the Ming dynasty. Loyal ministers and righteous people from all over the country elected Emperor Taizu's descendant as king. First, Prince Fu became the emperor in Nanjing. Later on, when Prince Fu was harmed by the Tatars, Prince Tang was crowned as the Son of Heaven, which was supported by Guoxing Master Zheng's group. At the same time, Mu Palace and other forces supported Dai Gui Wang as the Son of Heaven, and there was another group of people who supported Dai Lu Wang as the Son of Heaven. These Jianghu people all believed that they were supporting the true Son of Heaven, while the other side was supporting the rebels and traitors. Neither side was willing to submit to the other, so much so that even though they had a common enemy, the Manchurian Qing, they actually sent their troops to attack each other. In the end, as expected, they were all wiped out by the Manchurian Qing. Now Lu Wang's power had disappeared for a long time, but Tang Wang and Gui Wang's children were still there. Plus, each of them had Zheng family and Mu Palace as their backing. Therefore, they were as incompatible as fire and water. Song Qingshu, who came from the later generation, naturally found it difficult to understand the importance that the people of this world attached to etiquette, and he did not want to understand. In his view, even if these two factions were to join forces, it would still be very difficult to shake the rule of the Manchurian Qing. Now that the great cause of fighting against the Qing and restoring the Ming was still far away, it was really ridiculous that both sides were here fighting for a groundless throne. Song Qingshu's heart was filled with disdain, although this group of people were nominally anti-Qing righteous people, but their minds might not really be that pure. Who didn't want to have the merit of ascending the throne? When the time comes, they would be granted the title of wife and children and enjoy glory, splendor, and wealth for generations to come. If they managed to overthrow the Manchurian Qing with great difficulty, but the person supported by the other side became the emperor, when the time came, not only their side would not get any benefits, it was very likely that they would die without a burial ground. No wonder for so many years, both sides were entangled on this issue. The middle-aged man guarding Zheng Keshuang saw he was at a disadvantage. He spoke up to help. Since the Mu Palace has such ability, I wonder which faction's troops were completely annihilated in the Battle of Sanshui. As soon as he said this, Mu Jinxing's face immediately turned red. It turned out that when King Gui sent an envoy to ask Tang Wang to remove his title, naturally Tang Wang refused, so King Gui sent an army to suppress them. As a result, they were completely annihilated. This matter had always been regarded by the Mu Palace as the greatest shame of its life. Suddenly their sore point was poked by the other side. The Mu Palace immediately burst into an uproar. Someone opened his mouth and cursed angrily. Feng Shifan, our Xiao Gongye is discussing an important matter with your master. What status do you have? Do you have the right to interrupt? Feng Shifan, the guy known as One Sword Without Blood? Song Qingshu was startled. It was said that his martial arts skill was not below Tiandi Hui's Qingjinan's, and the Mu Palace did not have a corresponding expert. Perhaps this time they would suffer a big loss. Sure enough, Feng Shifan smiled sinisterly. By Han Song, by Han Feng, in this old man's eyes, your by family's twin with title is nothing more than rotten wood, yet you still dare to boast shamelessly. Bai Han Song had always been hot-tempered. How could he endure after hearing this? He smashed a teacup with his palm and stretched out his hand to attack Feng Shifan. Mu Jiansheng did not have time to stop him, only to see a flash of sword light. Bai Han Song's face was pale as he retreated. Bai Han Feng hurriedly went to help his brother, who knew that when he held his brother's hand, he could not feel the slightest pulse. He turned pale with fright and looked. His brother had already been dead for a long time. Mu Jianxing suddenly became furious. The one surnamed Feng, you are simply going too far. The people of the Mu Palace pulled out their weapons one after another, glaring at each other. Big brother, that uncle obviously did not have any blood on him. How'd he die? Miao Rulin on the side asked curiously. That swordsman's nickname is One Bloodless Sword. He is different from the ordinary people of Jianghu. He does not use the edge of the sword to kill people, but rather, he infuses his vital energy on the tip of the sword and specializes in hitting people's death acupuncture points. Just now, the one surnamed Bai was hit by him at the Shanzhong acupuncture point on his chest. Song Qingshu explained while he pondered. This Feng Shifan swordsmanship has the same wonderful effect as mine. I use a wooden sword, not to kill people by relying on the edge of the sword. However, the other party can only hit the fixed death acupuncture points of the human body, while I attack the key points of the changing vital energy flow on the enemy's body. Hearing the conversation between the two, both sides who were at daggers drawn turned their heads, vigilantly looking at the approaching Song Qingshu and the other two. Icy Snow's appearance was elegant, and her temperament was pure. In addition, because she had been tormented by Song Qingshu every night recently, her every movement exuded a faintly discernible seductive charm. The eyes of the group of men revealed a trace of amazement. Zheng Keshuang was even more excited, thinking that the Central Plains was indeed a place blessed with outstanding people. How could there be such a beautiful woman in the Yin Ping Commandery Prince's mansion? When Feng Yi saw Song Qingshu, she couldn't help but reveal a trace of surprise on her face. But when she saw Icy Snow beside her, her expression suddenly turned gloomy, and her complexion sank. Chapter 391. Who are you? Whether it was the Mu Palace or the Taiwanese Zheng family, They all looked at Song Qingshu's group of three warily. They were now in the sphere of influence of the Qing dynasty, and they were talking about a rebellion. If the people of the imperial court heard them, their next action would be much more dangerous. We are just bystanders. You can continue. Song Qingshu didn't care and smiled slightly. Zheng Keshuang retracted his greedy gaze. He wanted to show off his power in front of icy snow. He sneered and ordered Feng Shifan. His behavior is suspicious. He might be the imperial court's lackey. Master Feng, take him down and interrogate him. Although Feng Shifan also looked down on Zheng Keshuang, his glory and wealth were tied to him, so he obeyed Zheng Keshuang's words. Now Zheng Jing favored Chen Jinan, and Chen Jinan was the confidant of the eldest young master Zheng Kesang. Once Zheng Kesang inherited the throne, he would have no chance to stand out. If he wanted to trample on Chen Jinan, he could only let his disciple Zheng Keshuang become the prince of Yinping. Seeing that Song Qingshu was about to suffer, Mu Jianping let out an ah, with Bai Han Song as an example. The kind-hearted Mu Jianping didn't want to see this strange man suffer an unexpected disaster. Fang Yi quickly pulled Mu Jianping's hand and whispered, "Young princess, don't worry. This time Feng Shifan is going to suffer." "Hey, senior sister, how do you know?" Mu Jianping looked at Fang Yi strangely and asked innocently. Fang Yi blushed and muttered, "If I know, then I know. Why do you care how I know?" "Oh," Mu Jianping showed an understanding expression and said sweetly, "Senior sister, you must know this person." Fang Yi blushed even more. She thought, more than no. Mu Jianping noticed Fang Yi's expression, and the girl's gossipy heart drove her to continue to ask, "Senior sister, you too won't. Don't talk nonsense." Fang Yi's expression changed. She was still a servant of the Mu Palace in name. Without the master's consent, how could she fall in love with other men, let alone make a commitment? "I know senior sister has never liked Xiao Bao. This person is just more handsome than Xiao Bao." Mu Jianping had an understanding expression on her face. Mu Jianping's previous favorable impression of Wei Xiaobao was established on the basis of a young girl's worship toward the powerhouse. Really speaking, it couldn't be said to be love. In addition, the relationship between the two parties had just warmed up when Mu Jianping was captured and brought to the Divine Dragon Island. The two of them were separated by the heavens and the earth, and there had been no news of Wei Xiaobao. The feelings in her heart slowly faded away. Previously, when the Hongli faction's army swept through the Divine Dragon Island, Mu Jianping was dispatched to another island to carry out a mission. She was rescued by the Mu Palace's people who received the news during the chaos. Later on, when Fang Yi and the people of Mu Palace met up, Mu Jianping found out that Wei Xiaobao had died a long time ago. She cried bitterly for several days. In addition to Fang Yi's consolation from time to time, Mu Jianping gradually forgot that budding affection and returned to the carefree and happy Xiao Junju of the past. Hearing Mu Jianping mention Wei Xiaobao, it was hard for Fang Yi to conceal the disgust on her face. "Don't mention that person anymore in the future. Watch the one surnamed Feng suffer." Sure enough, the naive Mu Jianping's attention was quickly diverted. Seeing Bai Han Song die under Feng Shifan's sword with her own eyes, she was also extremely angry in her heart. Seeing her senior sister speak so resolutely and decisively, she was also looking forward to Song Qingshu ruthlessly teaching the other party a lesson. Looking at Feng Shifan, who was gradually walking towards him, Song Qingshu smiled slightly. "Your Excellency calls yourself the Bloodless Sword?" Nowadays, Song Qingshu's martial arts had already returned to its original state. Feng Shifan couldn't sense a trace of an expert's aura from him. Seeing that Song Qingshu was still carrying a little girl in one hand, Feng Shifan didn't pay any attention to Song Qingshu. Naturally, he didn't have a mood to pay attention to Song Qingshu. He just wanted to subdue Song Qingshu and hand him over to Zheng Keshuang as soon as possible. With a flash of sword light, Feng Shifan stabbed towards a major acupuncture point on Song Qingshu's body. Unexpectedly, Song Qingshu's body seemed to move slightly to the side, and his sword unexpectedly stabbed empty air. Seeing that the tip of Feng Shifan's long sword had stopped half an inch away from Song Qingshu's chest, Zheng Keshuang only thought that his master was being lenient. In his heart, he was still somewhat puzzled as to why his master had changed today. However, in his calculations, he wanted Feng Shifan to subdue Song Qingshu, and then that beautiful woman would have no choice but to come and beg him. Thinking of this, Zheng Keshuang impatiently ordered, "There's no need to be lenient. Quickly capture him." Seeing that Zheng Keshuang had misunderstood him, cold sweat seeped out of Feng Shifan's temples. He already understood that the person in front of him was probably a hidden expert. However, Feng Shifan had always been confident in his swordsmanship, so he didn't use his full strength just now. Moreover, his opponent was too careless. Not only did he not counterattack, but he was also carrying a little girl. Feng Shifan had always adhered to the principle of taking advantage of the enemy's weakness to kill him. A trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes, and he wanted to seize the opportunity to kill Song Qingshu with his sword. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Another 3 sword strikes. Feng Shifan felt that every sword strike, be it speed, strength, or angle, was the pinnacle of his life's work. Unexpectedly, his opponent's legs didn't move, and only his upper body trembled slightly, causing his every sword strike to miss by just a little bit. The rest of the people at the scene originally thought that Feng Shifan was worried about the little girl in his opponent's hand, so he was always lenient. Although Mu Jiansheng hated Feng Shifan to the core, he had some admiration for him when he saw this. Who knew that after continuing to watch for a while, he would realize that things weren't as they seemed. Feng Shifan's expression was ferocious, and every sword strike was murderous. It didn't seem like he was being lenient. In this way, the young man carrying the little girl must be a hidden expert. That was why he was able to dodge the attacks so easily every time. Mu Jianxing had long heard of Feng Shifan's great name, and in addition, he had just witnessed Feng Shifan's swordsmanship that killed without spilling blood. He understood in his heart that even if the people of the Mu imperial residence swarmed him, they still might not be able to make him stay. But this young man was playing with Feng Shifan like a child. So how high was his martial arts? "Senior sister, you're grabbing me so hard." Mu Jai in pain suddenly cried out and glanced at Feng Yi with a reproachful expression. "Young princess, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Feng Yi hurriedly apologized, but her attention was completely focused on Song Qingshu. Although she knew that her opponent's martial arts were high, she still trembled with fear when she saw the tip of Feng Shifan's sword only miss Song Qingshu's body by a little bit every time. Song Qingshu looked as if he didn't care and was very leisurely, but his divine sense was monitoring the entire scene, so Feng Yi's expression naturally didn't escape his discerning eyes. Seeing that Feng Yi's concern for him didn't seem to be fake, Song Qingshu's heart was moved, thinking that he was a bit too heartless to her. In the original work, The Deer and the Cauldron, Feng Yi was indeed a capricious woman who harmed the protagonist Wei Xiaobao many times. But with his addition, this was already a different world. Aside from Wei Xiaobao, Feng Yi had other choices, so why should he let her pay for some mistakes that haven't happened yet? The proud and arrogant Feng Yi looked down on the wretched and vulgar Wei Xiaobao, so she betrayed him several times. But he was obviously very different from Wei Xiaobao. Could it be that he didn't have the confidence to make her wholeheartedly devoted to him? As for Feng Yi's petty schemes, it was nothing more than a normal woman's. Huang Rong was such a wonderful person when she was young, but after she got married, didn't she still have a belly full of ordinary women's thoughts? Chapter 392. Song Qingshu looked at Feng Yi and couldn't help but feel guilty. Feng Yi noticed his gaze, and a resentment that had accumulated in her during this period of time immediately disappeared. She suddenly realized that Feng Shifan was thrusting his sword at her, and she couldn't help but exclaim, "Watch out!" When Feng Shifan saw that Song Qingshu was suddenly distracted, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. He quickly thrust his sword towards Miao Ruolin, who was in Song Qingshu's arms. His calculations were very clear. Song Qingshu's martial arts were very high. If he attacked him directly, even though he was caught unprepared, he might not be able to hurt him. But if he stabbed the little girl in his opponent's arms, he would definitely save her. Saving someone and saving oneself were two completely different reactions. Saving oneself was all instinctive, and it was difficult to have a flaw in one's movements. But saving someone was different. If one was caught off guard, one would definitely reveal a flaw. Feng Shifan was waiting for that moment of opportunity. Noticing Feng Shifan's action, how could Song Qingshu not understand his intentions? He immediately became furious. He had originally decided not to help either side, but don't blame me if you're looking for death. Song Qingshu stretched out his palm to block the tip of the sword. Feng Shifan was immediately overjoyed. Isn't this equivalent to crippling one of your hands? Just as he was about to use all his strength to stab his opponent's palm, the vital energy on the tip of the sword was like a clay ox entering the sea. Song Qingshu coldly snorted and lightly pushed his palm forward. Like breaking dry weeds and rotten wood, he broke Feng Shifan's long sword inch by inch. Feng Shifan only felt as if his chest was hit by a heavy hammer. He could not summon his inner strength no matter how hard he tried. His whole body was numb, and he stood there in a daze. Song Qingshu didn't give him another chance. His finger silently pressed on his Shanzhong acupoint, and his Zhenqi instantly destroyed his vitality. He said coldly, "You should also taste the feeling of killing someone without spilling blood." Feng Shifan's face turned red and his throat gurgled. The vitality in his eyes gradually disappeared, and he finally fell to the ground. Seeing Feng Shifan fall to the ground, Zhang Keshuang was shocked, but he didn't take it too seriously. He instructed his men to help him up. He didn't know that his men ran over and sighed. He suddenly stuttered, "Second young master, Feng. Feng! Feng! Feng, what the F **********? Not only did he fail to show off his skills in front of the beauty, but he also made a mess of himself. Zhang Keshuang was already filled with anger. Seeing that his subordinates were so stupid, he immediately became furious. Master Feng is dead. As soon as these words came out, the pavilion suddenly fell into a strange silence. Even the people of Mu Palace had a look of disbelief. Just 30 minutes ago, Feng Shifan was still here showing off his prowess, but he just died silently like this? Patter! The teacup in Zhang Keshuang's hand fell to the ground. He was the first to react because he knew that his men would never dare to deceive him. If he said that Feng Shifan was dead, then he was really dead. Thinking of how Feng Shifan had dazzled his eyes and attacked the opponent so many times, only to have the opponent take his life with a raise of his hand, Zhang Keshuang couldn't help but tremble. He understood that he had probably offended someone he shouldn't have. You actually killed Master Feng, Do you know who I am? Zhang Keshuang said in a threatening manner. Why can't Feng Shifan be killed? He just killed Master Bai of Mu Palace. A life for a life, it's very fair. Song Qingshu thought that since Feng Shifan had been killed, the Zheng family of Taiwan would definitely be offended, so he might as well take the opportunity to sell a favor to Mu Palace. In fact, in Song Qingshu's view, the people of Mu Palace were now withered and had long been declining, far less valuable than the Zheng family of Taiwan. However, in a short contact just now, Song Qingshu understood that he and Zhang Keshuang were not the same kind of people, and they were destined to not be in the same pot. It was better to get along with Mu Palace, not to mention that Mu Palace also had Feng Yi. Sure enough, when they heard Song Qingshu say so, the people of Mu Palace had a look of gratitude in their eyes, especially by Han Song's younger brother, by Han Feng and Mu Jiansheng. Needless to say, the reason why Mu Jiansheng was so grateful was that he knew it was difficult to kill Feng Shifan with his own strength to avenge his men. Under his leadership, the people of Mu Palace had struggled for many years for the illusory goal of fighting against the Qing dynasty and restoring the Ming dynasty, but they could not see the slightest possibility of success. Everyone's hearts had long been wavering. If Mu Jiansheng could not avenge by Han Song this time, perhaps it would be the last straw that broke the camel's back. It would be a huge blow to his prestige, and the Mu Palace might even fall apart. Now that Song Qing-shu had killed Feng Shifan, he had really solved a potential crisis for him. So how could Mu Jiansheng not be happy? Feng Yi's eyes were even more charming. In her view, Song Qingshu's action was mostly for her. Otherwise, he had no friendship with Mu Palace. Why would he take the risk of offending the Zheng family of Taiwan to kill Feng Shifan? Mu Jianping's face was full of stars. Her small cherry mouth opened wide, and she muttered with a sigh, "Senior sister, your friend's martial arts is very high." Song Qingshu did not expect to make so many good karma. He just looked at Zheng Keshuang coldly and said, "I know you are the second son of Yin Ping Junwang of Taiwan. I admire the heroic deeds of Lord Guoxing in the past, so I will not hurt his descendants. You can leave. Who are you? Do you dare to tell me your name? The Zheng family will definitely reward you generously in the future." Zheng Keshuang understood that with the opponent's martial arts, if he wanted to take his life, the group of experts around him who usually had their eyes on the top of their heads would not be able to stop him. Hearing Song Qingshu say this, he felt relieved, but suddenly felt that it would be very embarrassing to leave like this, so he could not help but drop a few words. Song Qingshu's face showed a trace of a mocking smile. "I am Song Qingshu, waiting for you at any time." Zheng Keshuang's face alternated between red and white. Feng Shifan could barely be considered the #1 expert of Taiwan, but in the past 2 years, Song Qingshu was recognized as the #1 expert of the Manchurian Qing in Jianghu. Under Sang Feihong's arrangement, the many sisters of the Five Lakes sect would sing and tell stories in the streets and alleys, and they would all publicize Song Qingshu's deeds. Song Qingshu had already defeated many famous experts in Wulin, and with the Five Lakes sect's exaggerated propaganda, in the hearts of the Jianghu people who did not know the truth, Song Qingshu was vaguely qualified to be the #1 expert in the world. Zheng Keshuang belonged to this type of Jianghu people who did not know the truth. In addition, he saw with his own eyes that the usually invincible Feng Shifan was killed by him in one move, which deepened the fear in his heart. He understood that he might not be able to avenge himself, so he did not care about any polite words and left dejectedly with his subordinates. Mu Jiansheng took the opportunity to step forward and salute, saying, "So you are the righteous Song who assassinated the fake Emperor Kangxi. Mu Jiansheng has long heard of your name." The Mu Palace had always believed that the Manchurian Qing had stolen the great Ming dynasty's rivers and mountains. Therefore, even when they chatted on a daily basis, they never acknowledged the identity of the Kangxi Emperor and only addressed him as the fake emperor. Seeing that Mu Jiansheng had long heard of his name, not because of his martial arts, but because of his reputation for failing to assassinate Kangxi, Song Qingshu was immediately filled with emotion. These people from the Mu Palace are indeed righteous people who fight against the Qing and restore the Ming. Their martial arts may not be high, but their spirit of doing something, even though they know it is impossible, is worthy of respect. Chapter 393. So if it's young Duke Mu, Song Qingshu cupped his hands to return the greeting. Compared to the Mu Mansion's many years of efforts to fight against the Qing and restore the Ming, Song Mao's little reputation is really not worth mentioning. Ah, Brother Song is in a high position in the Qing court, but you don't care about glory, splendor, and wealth. I quite admire this. Mu Jiansheng suddenly looked guilty. I'm ashamed to say this. I misunderstood you as an accomplice to the villain and cursed Brother Song behind his back. If I can assassinate Kangxi, sacrificing a little reputation is nothing. It's a pity that I failed at the last moment. Song Qingshu looked regretful, but in his heart he thought, my ability to speak like a human and speak like a ghost seems to have greatly improved. Mu Jiansheng hurriedly said a few words to comfort him. Suddenly, he thought of what he said just now and hurriedly asked, could it be that Brother Song also assassinated Kangxi to restore the Ming? Song Qingshu thought, I'm a person from the future. Of course, I have no interest in restoring the Ming. Naturally, I have to start my own business and become my own boss. However, in this world, fighting against the Qing and restoring the Ming seemed to have quite a rallying power, so there was no need to reveal his true intentions so quickly. In the past, Liu Bang and Xiang Yu were so fierce, but they still had to use the banner of Emperor Yi. Zhu Yuanzhang also regarded Han Lin, as his nominal master. You should learn from them and not show off so much. I have a close friendship with the former Ming princess Chongping. Song Qingshu deliberately lowered his voice and said something ambiguous. He did not admit that he wanted to fight against the Qing and restore the Ming, but he did not deny it either. It was up to Mu Jiansheng to understand. Ninth Princess? Mu Jiansheng's eyes bloomed with a trace of surprise. He suddenly realized and looked at Song Qingshu in surprise. He thought, if that's the case, isn't Song Qingshu Emperor Chongzhen's son-in-law, the Emperor's son-in-law? Mu Jiansheng's expression suddenly became more respectful. Thinking that there would be such a capable general in the anti-Qing and restoring the Ming camp in the future, Mu Jiansheng could not suppress the joy in his heart. For many years, fighting against the Qing and restoring the Ming had no achievements. Not to mention other people in the Mu mansion, even he was about to lose confidence. By the way, where is the ninth princess now? A few days ago, she went to the western region to cultivate. Song Qingshu thought to himself that Zhu Pei would not blame him for taking advantage of her tiger skin. Speaking of which, he was also comforting her father's former subordinates. Initially, because of Song Qingshu's reputation for assassinating Kangxi, Mu Jiansheng only treated him as someone on the same side. But now, because of Princess Chongping, Mu Jiansheng subconsciously treated Song Qingshu as one of his own. The more he looked at Song Qingshu, the more he liked him. Brother Song, who are they? Shifting his gaze to icy snow, Mu Jiansheng was startled. What a beautiful woman. Could she be Song Qingshu's wife? And this little girl, could she be their child? What about the ninth princess? Song Qingshu introduced. This is the widow of Liaodong hero Hu Yidao, and this is the orphan of golden-faced Buddha Miao Renfeng. Hu Yidao? Miao Renfeng? Mu Jiansheng's countenance turned somewhat unsightly. Song Qingshu was stunned. He suddenly came to a realization and cursed inwardly. Originally, he thought that no matter if it was Hu Yidao or Miao Renfeng, they were both famous anti-Qing heroes in the pugilistic world. The people of the Mu royal residence should treat their families differently. Unfortunately, when he noticed Mu Jiansheng's expression, Song Qingshu suddenly remembered that the ancestors of Hu Yidao and Miao Renfeng were the guards of the Roman king, Li Zicheng, and it was Li Zicheng who forced Chongzhen to his death. Song Qingshu coughed lightly and hurriedly said, now that the strength of the Manchurian Qing is like the sun in the sky, only by uniting all the forces that can be united and establishing a united front will we have a chance to win. Uniting all the forces that can be united, establishing a united front. Mu Jiansheng muttered to himself. Although he had never heard of these two sentences before, the words were crude, but the reasoning was not crude. He quickly understood the meaning behind them, and suddenly felt that they were wise words. Mu Jiansheng looked at Song Qingshu with a complicated expression. Brother Song is indeed a great talent. If we had understood this truth in the past, we would not have so easily given the remaining half of the great Ming dynasty to the Tatars. It is not too late to wake up now. Song Qingshu smiled slightly. Thank you, Brother Song, for your guidance. Mu Jiansheng nodded and called the people of the Mu royal residence over. Let me introduce everyone. This is the world-famous Prince Song Qingshu. He and the ninth princess are very good friends, so we are on the same side. The people of the Mu royal residence were in an uproar. They whispered to each other. Mu Jianping looked worriedly at Fong Yi and saw that her face was slightly pale. Fong Yi sighed in her heart. Sure enough, only a noble woman like the ninth princess is worthy of him. I am destined to only be a servant girl. Mu Jiansheng did not know the thoughts of these girls and introduced them one by one. This is my younger sister, Mu Jianping. Song Qingshu sized up the cute girl and smiled in return. Hello, little princess. Seeing him greet her so formally, Mu Jianping's face turned red. She replied somewhat bewilderedly, Song, brother Song, you will be the son-in-law in the future. I should greet you. Song Qing-shu was stunned. He did not deliberately explain, but he felt strange in his heart. How did the cute little princess in the original work become a little stutterer? Mu Jiansheng continued to introduce the people of the residence. This is Master Lu, the iron-backed blue dragon, and this is Master Wu, the sky-shaking lion, Wu Lisen. When I was still in the Qing court, I have heard of the fame of the two great experts of the Mu royal residence. Seeing you today, you two are indeed awe-inspiring. Song Qing-shu said with a smile. Prince Song, please don't laugh at us. Lu Dahong and Wu Lisen could not help but blush. Although they were slightly famous in Jianghu, their martial arts and Song Qing-shu's were like clouds and mud. However, being complimented by such a super expert, the two of them still felt quite good in their hearts. The way they looked at Song Qing-shu was even more pleasing to the eye. These are the four great generals of our Mu royal residence, Lu, Bai, Fong, and Su. For more than 200 years, they have been loyal and devoted from generation to generation. Mu Jiansheng suddenly thought of the betrayed Lu Yizhou and secretly sighed in his heart. Thank you, Prince Song, for avenging my brother. If you need my help in the future, as long as it does not harm the Mu royal residence, I, Bai Hanfeng, will not frown for a moment. Bai Hanfeng excitedly knelt on one knee and said, Song Qing-shu hurriedly helped him up. Second hero Bai, please don't be like this. Song Mao did not expect Feng Shifan to do such a vicious thing. I only regret that I did not stop him in time. Bai Hanfeng hurriedly said, Prince Song killed this evil person. My brother's spirit in heaven must be grateful to young master. Mu Jiansheng hurriedly comforted him and continued to introduce. This is divine physician Su Gang. This is Fong Yi. Song Qing-shu and Su Gang exchanged a few greetings. When he saw Fong Yi, he could not help but smile bitterly to Mu Jiansheng. Brother Mu, I know Miss Fong. Oh, Mu Jiansheng showed a trace of surprise. Before Song Qing-shu could speak, Fong Yi rushed to explain, reporting to Little High Duke, when I was in the capital, Prince Song helped me many times. Seeing that Fong Yi did not mention the relationship between the two, Song Qing-shu could not help but be stunned. He was having a headache on how to explain. This was the brilliance of Fong Yi. She clearly also realized that Song Qing-shu was embarrassed. She understood that revealing the relationship between the two at this time would only make things difficult for Song Qing-shu and would not be of any use. Although Fong Yi boasted of her beauty, compared to Icy Snow who was by Song Qing-shu's side, she had to admit that she was inferior. Moreover, there was also the noble Princess Chomping. Fong Yi understood that she could only use other methods to win Song Qing-shu's favor. Looking at Fong Yi's cautious appearance, Song Qing-shu seemed to recall the humble love described in some idol dramas in his previous life. He was suddenly filled with emotion and immediately made up his mind. Since he wanted her in the beginning, he could not abandon her after using her. In the future, he would definitely give her a place to return to. Mu Jiansheng was obviously not very sensitive to matters of the heart. He did not notice the exchange of glances between the two. Soon, he asked, Brother Song, are you also here to participate in the Golden Snake Convention this time? Yes, this time the Manchurian army is pressing on the border. Someone invited me to go and help. Although the two chatted happily, Song Qing-shu was not stupid enough to casually confess his relationship with Xia Qingqing to an outsider. This time, the Mu royal residence also received a hero's invitation from the Golden Snake Camp. Mu Jiansheng did not notice the subtle meaning in Song Qing-shu's words. He thought that Song Qing-shu had also received a hero's invitation, like himself. Although the philosophy of the Golden Snake Camp is to fight against both the Qing and the Ming, now that the Manchurian Qing is powerful, our Mu royal residence is also unwilling to see them be destroyed. Mu Jiansheng then chuckled. As for joining the Golden Snake Camp, I have self-awareness and have never thought about it. However, this time I met Brother Song. I feel that this is an opportunity. What opportunity? Song Qingshu asked without batting an eyelid. Mu Jiansheng said excitedly, if Brother Song becomes the new Golden Snake King and leads the Golden Snake Camp to the righteous path, we can then join forces with the Heaven-Earth Association, the Red Flower Association, and other organizations. The success of the great cause of fighting against the Qing is just around the corner. Brother Mu overestimates me too much, Song Qingshu said with a wry smile. With Brother Song's martial arts and reputation, it's not impossible for you to join the Golden Snake Camp, Mu Jianxing said with a straight face. Although our Mu royal residence does not have much ability, we have a bit of a reputation in Jianghu, so we will certainly help Brother Song. Song Qingshu knew that it was not realistic to rely on martial arts to join the Golden Snake Camp this time. At the same time, he also needed a huge foundation and support from the masses. He originally planned to win over the Mu royal residence, but he did not expect that Mu Jiansheng would take the initiative to propose it. The two hit it off and left the crowd. They found a secluded place to talk for a long time before separating. Mu Jiansheng cupped his fists and said, Brother Song, we still have to deal with Brother Bai's funeral affairs, so we won't be going with you. We'll meet again at the Golden Snake meeting. In that case, we'll meet again someday. The journey was delayed for a lot of time. Song Qingshu knew that he should rush over as soon as possible. Xia Qingqing should have been waiting anxiously for a long time. Seeing Song Qingshu holding Miao Rulin and walking further and further away with icy snow, Fong opened her mouth several times. She looked as if she wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. In the end, she did not say anything. Don't worry, I won't let you down. A familiar voice suddenly came to her ears. Fong Yi understood that this was Song Qingshu telling her through the secret sound transmission. Her tears immediately flowed uncontrollably. Don't be sad, senior sister. Seeing Fong Yi silently crying, Mu Jianpain quietly pulled her sleeve and comforted her. Next time I see him, I'll help you ask him even if brother blames me. Chapter 394. Fong Yi was startled. She quickly waved her hand and said, There's nothing between me and him. Little princess, please don't mess around. Fong Yi subconsciously felt that it was better not to publicize their relationship, as she was worried that it would affect Song Qingshu. Is that so? Mu Jianpain was simple-minded. When she heard Fong Yi's words, she thought that she had misunderstood. Suddenly, she recalled Song Qingshu's elegant demeanor of killing Feng Shifan with a wave of his hand. Soon, she fell into a daze as if she was thinking about something. Uncle, what's your relationship with the former Ming dynasty's Princess Chongping? When the three of them separated from the people of the Mu Palace and couldn't see anyone else, Icy Snow finally couldn't help but ask. We just met a few times. Song Qingshu smiled awkwardly. Really? Icy Snow obviously didn't believe it. When she noticed that Miao Rulin had fallen asleep on Song Qingshu's body, she suddenly blushed and said softly, In the princess's heart, sister-in-law is a traitor's family member. I'm afraid she won't tolerate me in the future. Seeing her shy expression, Song Qingshu couldn't help but feel his heart flutter. He teased, Didn't sister-in-law say that you won't enter the Song family's door in the future? Icy Snow was so angry that she pinched him. Well, you're really thinking of taking advantage of me. Song Qingshu dodged and begged for mercy. Sister-in-law, you misunderstood me. I'm just saying. Icy Snow snorted, Don't worry. I'm not willing to take responsibility, even if you want to. It's fine if I meet you in secret. But if our relationship is publicized, Big Brother who will lose his face. How am I going to face fear? Song Qingshu smiled proudly. Then, won't I make a big profit? Icy Snow's expression changed. She stared at him blankly. Uncle, you must promise me that you'll never publicize our relationship. At worst, I'll do whatever you want. Any request? Song Qingshu approached her ambiguously. At the thought of some of Song Qingshu's requests on certain nights, Icy Snow's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. She acknowledged softly. Looking up and noticing the smug expression on Song Qingshu's face, Icy Snow was ashamed and angry at the same time. she snappily rebuked. You're clearly the one who's freeloading, yet you're making it look like you've suffered a great loss. Song Qingshu finally put away the joking expression on his face and said in a deep voice, Sister-in-law, I can't let you suffer for the rest of your life. In the future, when my power is strong enough and I don't need to care about what others say, I will make you my wife officially. Icy Snow's heart skipped a beat, but she put on a faint smile and said, Let's talk about it when the time comes. Perhaps you'll have too many women, and I don't want to be jealous of them. I might as well be your only sister-in-law. Song Qingshu remained silent. He roughly understood Icy Snow's thoughts. Titles and whatnot probably weren't that attractive to her. Compared to sharing her husband with other women, she was more satisfied with this peculiar relationship. I almost forgot because of your interruption. Noticing the sadness on Song Qingshu's face, Icy Snow smiled and deliberately tried to find a topic of conversation. What's going on between you and that princess? Do you remember what I said when you went berserk while cultivating the Jade Maiden Sutra? Asked Song Qingshu. Icy Snow pondered for a moment and suddenly widened her eyes. You don't know how to use the mantra of joy. Song Qingshu nodded awkwardly. She was seriously injured and on the verge of death at that time. I had no other way to save her, so I could only do that. Icy Snow put on a faint smile. Isn't that too cheap for you? Of course not. Song Qingshu's cheeks turned hot. I was also trying to save her. Speaking of which, I even lost half of my power. Oomph. Icy Snow wrinkled her nose. Compared to a woman's chastity, that bit of power you lost is nothing. Song Qingshu smiled awkwardly. He felt that what she said made sense and was speechless. What happened to her after that? Icy Snow asked. There's no love between us. She agreed to let me help her only because she hasn't completed the great cause of fighting against the Qing dynasty. After that, she went far away. I don't know her exact whereabouts. Song Qingshu pondered for a moment and shook his head in the end. You heartless person. You took such a big advantage of her, yet you let her leave just like that? Icy Snow exclaimed. Song Qingshu was speechless. I'm not that much of a scumbag, but she clearly wants to sever all ties with me. I'm not Duan Yu, so why would I pester her? Icy Snow said snappily. If that's the case, why did you still use her name to scare the Mu Mansion? She's always elusive. Even if I use her name, she won't know. Besides, I'm doing my part to fight against the Qing and restore the Ming. Even if she knows, she won't blame me. Although Song Qingshu said so, he was secretly thinking, the last time I met Zhu Xiao, her identity was the Ming Dynasty's saintess. I have to find a way to poach her from Zhang Wuji's camp. If I spread the news through the Mu Mansion, it will become an established fact in the pugilistic world. On one hand, it will shake Ah Jio's position. On the other hand, it will make Zhang Wuji suspicious of her and further force her over. Why not? Fighting against the Qing dynasty is true, but restoring the Ming dynasty is not necessarily true. Icy Snow pursed her lips and smiled. Don't talk nonsense. It'll be terrible if some stubborn people hear it. Song Qingshu looked around vigilantly and smiled embarrassedly. But what about sect leader Zhou of Amayame? Icy Snow suddenly asked. Zhou Zhiruo? Song Qingshu was stunned and soon had a headache. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's talk about it later. Now you understand the troubles of having too many women. A gentle smile appeared on Icy Snow's lips. Song Qingshu nodded. If only all women were like you, sister-in-law. Icy Snow could not help but blush. She stretched out her finger and poked his head gently. You wish. By the way, there's something I want to tell you, Song Qingshu suddenly said seriously. What is it? Why are you so serious? Icy Snow noticed the change in Song Qingshu's expression and asked in confusion. Sister-in-law, it's actually not accurate to say that I'm fighting against the Qing dynasty. Speaking of which, I'm fighting against myself. Under Icy Snow's doubtful gaze, Song Qingshu told her about his assassination of Kangxi in Shengjing, his disguise, and the subsequent series of plans. Following Song Qingshu's explanation, Icy Snow's mouth opened wider and wider. That's unbelievable. The whole thing seemed like a fantasy story to her. If she did not know that Song Qingshu would not lie to her, she would never believe that the Manchurian emperor had changed into someone else. After digesting everything with great difficulty, Icy Snow had a complicated expression. "Uncle, this is a serious matter. You don't have to tell me about it." Song Qingshu looked at her and said softly, "Sister-in-law, when I was at my lowest point of despair, your appearance was like the first ray of sunlight that shone into my dark life. You protected me all the way and accompanied me to find a cure. If I don't even believe in you, who can I believe in?" Icy Snow became more and more touched as she listened to him confessing his feelings for her. She couldn't help but lean into his embrace. "When I first saw your eyes, I knew that I would be entangled with you for the rest of my life." With this interlude, there was no gap between the two of them. They chatted and talked about love along the way, and their journey became faster. Soon, they arrived at the inn where they agreed to meet up with Xia Qingqing. After making a mark at the designated place, Song Qingshu returned to his room and heaved a sigh of relief. "Now I just have to wait for the sky to turn dark. Qingqing will come to me." Icy Snow looked at him with a strange expression. "At this moment, I really wonder if you have some special fetish. Why you like to seduce other people's wives so much?" Song Qingshu was speechless. "Don't use such an ugly word like seduce. We are obviously in love with each other. Tell me on your conscience, did I seduce you?" Icy Snow reached out and pressed her left chest. She nodded solemnly and said, "Yes." Song Qingshu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He put on a fierce look and said, "Since you said so, I'll seduce her for you to see." After saying that, he pounced on her and hugged her in his arms. Icy Snow panicked when she felt the big hand reaching into her clothes. "Don't. Miss Ya is coming soon." There's still some time before the sky turns dark. We have more than enough time. Song Qingshu moved his nose close to her cheek. Icy Snow's body couldn't help but turn soft in his arms. However, her woman's modesty made her resist. Rulin is still here. Children sleep a lot. She's sleeping soundly. She won't know." Song Qingshu glanced at Miao Rulin, who was sleeping soundly, and chuckled. "Little junior sister found out last time. If a junior sees us this time, how am I going to live?" Icy Snow was obviously tempted. However, she still had a lingering fear from the previous incident. "Don't worry. That won't happen. With my skills, I'll be able to sense it as soon as Rulin wakes up." Song Qingshu patted his chest and guaranteed. "You didn't tell me when you sensed that little junior sister was awake. It would be better if Song Qingshu didn't mention it." Icy Snow was reminded of the hateful incident the last time. That situation was different. Song Qingshu looked embarrassed. "I'm not that perverted in front of a little lowly." After saying that, he ignored Icy Snow's protest and carried her to the bed. At this point, Icy Snow no longer had the intention to resist. She buried her head in Song Qingshu's arms and reminded, "Hurry up," touching Icy Snow's soft and moist body. Song Qingshu shook his head and smiled. "How can this be done quickly?" When Song Qingshu unbuttoned her dress, Icy Snow hurriedly held his hand and said softly, "Let's do this. Otherwise, we won't have time to put on our clothes later." Song Qingshu couldn't help but laugh. "We're not having an affair. Do you need to be so guarded?" Icy Snow remained silent, but shook her head firmly. When she heard that Xia Qingqing was also a widow, she immediately sympathized with her and made up her mind to get along well with her. However, if Xia Qingqing came over early and happened to see the two of them having sex, wouldn't they offend each other as soon as they met? That was why Icy Snow begged Song Qingshu to end this quickly. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.